We're like less than 4 weeks from E3.
I love that everybody keeps calling it that. It's great.
Also, have you seen like
E3.
a bunch of directs have already been announced, like events for E3. Like Kotaku's got an article up. There's like 4 events occurring in 3 days during the E3 time frame. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I saw that. I don't have everything in our calendar, but because of like PC gaming. Oh, I hear an echo. Like PC gaming stuff, I didn't include, but let's see here. I have Xbox on the calendar. I guess that's the only one right now. I'll have to see what the other ones are. But
there's a Japanese indie showcase coming out on the 22nd because Xbox is part of that. For some, they're going to be showing something at that. So,
yeah, right out of Kotaku. Here are all the pressers filling the vacuum by E3's shambled zombie corpse. Great headline. All right, so are we live? Yeah,
we are live. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
do it live.
We'll just do it live. We'll just do it live.
All right. We all ready?
Yep.
All right. Here we go. 3, 2. Welcome to Nintendo Dads, episode 376, recorded on May 19th, 2022. On tonight's episode, we have Nick, one half of the Game Pass news duo, to help us talk about why he hasn't watched Spirited Away yet. We'll have to figure that one out. What happened to Xbox over the last several weeks and what they have in store for E3. Fall Guys finally gets a release date for Switch and Xbox. Justin's not E3 predictions. We need to talk about those. And your questions. Jesse, you know what to do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nintendo Dads podcast. I'm your host, Justin Masson, the one driving the bus on this dumpster fire of a podcast, and we're so happy that you're here with us today. Joining me are 3 of the coolest guys around the internet. First, on the soundboard, pressing the buttons, and took his 1 day off of 2022, his one PTO for the entire year from Nintendo Dads. Welcome back, Mr. Jesse Waldeck. Jesse, how are you today, sir?
And I remembered how to push the button when I got back, too.
I mean, that's why it's a really short sabbatical. Like, we only give you a week off so you don't forget how to do things. That's how Nintendo Dad Corp works.
I think last year I had problems. But yeah, last week I was at I was at a wedding. It was my oldest daughter's wedding. So I now have a son-in-law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And then we started, I don't know if we want to talk about it now or later, but we started another competition in the Discord to help encourage weight loss. I don't remember what the official title is.
Chubby Dads.
That's the official title.
Just Fat Dads is what it's called. Fat Dads Discord.
And so I tried to do my initial weigh-in yesterday, and the scale just said E. So I'm like, am I? It thought I was exceeding its maximum weight, so I had to buy another scale. And
all right,
when the weight it told me doesn't exceed the maximum weight of the first scale, but it comes really damn close.
Fair enough.
And when I weighed in this morning, I lost 1/5 of a pound. So I'm on a start.
Hey, we'll take that as a win, right? Always got to be better in ourselves and taking care of ourselves from a health perspective. I'm in the Chubby Dads Discord challenge also, and I'm going to talk to you later about it, but it's been a real struggle for me. Poutine has not been a friend this week, but a friend of mine who I hope to one day sit down and have some poutine with, Mr. Timothy Off. Tim, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm really good this week because I don't have to do what Jesse's doing right now anymore because, man, that was stressful for doing that the first time.
Yeah, round of applause to you for doing it for the first time. That was fantastic. Really well done. It's challenging to run a soundboard and host, right? Which is kind of what you were doing. So it was great.
It was fun though to get to do that experience, and like Nick and I were talking about earlier, it is kind of fun to switch scenes and stuff on the stream deck. So that was cool.
Good, excellent. Well, hi, for those of you that are not watching the video and you're only an audio fan, you're missing another fantastic hat from Tim. This one is an old 8-bit Bowser. I love your hats, Tim. Just for clarity, because I don't think I've ever seen you with a repeat hat? How many hats do you have?
I think, Nick,
question.
you asked this question too before, but I counted and I lost track. So I don't know. I've got a lot of hats.
Wow. You put all the hats on the scale and you needed another scale for the hats.
I was starting to count them and then I got distracted and then I was like, forget it. I'm not counting anymore.
Oh my gosh. Crazy.
I think it's over 50 hats, I think.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I have three hats. That's it. That's all I have is 3.
Also, what we learned here is that Justin can't remember a year's worth of data. Because if it's 50 hats, at some point you had to repeat it, and Justin just don't remember it anymore.
Yeah, that's also most likely, right? That's probably. Well, that's why I'm not on every episode, Nick, because now I'm like, oh, that's a new hat. And it's like, no, been here before. Hey, that other voice you heard, the third person joining us today, man, I'm so excited to be here. Fantastic fella. One of the halves of the Xbox Game Pass news. And I will say, because the other person's not here, the best half of it, Mr. Nick. Nick, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's funny you say the best because I said at least you got the second best co-host of Game Pass News. So at least that's how I look at it. You got the second best.
You're the best because you're here right now. So and then when Sean is here, then we'll say he's the best.
Yeah. Do I play favorites? 100%. Do I boost your ego? 100%. If Sean was here, would I say the same thing? Yes, I would.
That's
because I am absolutely vicious that way. Well, gentlemen, man, it has been a great week. Some video game news, not a whole ton of stuff to break down, but I'm excited to jump into it either which way. So let's jump right into the news. And today's show is brought to you by Manscaped, but of course, we're going to talk about that later. And of course, the news is also brought to us by patreon.com/NintendoDads, whereas for as little as $1 a month, you can come support this crazy dumpster fire we do. Get into our Discord. There are options to get pre and post show audio, artwork cards, be a producer on the show, all kinds of stuff. And if you want to jump into our Discord, similar to the rest of us, and find a group that's all about chubby dads and losing some weight, hey, we're in there too. And by the way, maybe you're like, hey, I don't got any bucks to throw your way. Not a problem at all. If you are a person who has Amazon Prime, you have got Twitch Prime, head over, hit that sub button, give it to us. And by the way, now all of a sudden you're in our Discord. So it's just that easy. We appreciate it no matter what. Gentlemen. I'm excited to talk about this first topic because I've been waiting for this game since it got announced earlier this week on Monday. The fine folks over at Mediatonic in cooperation with Epic Games announced Fall Guys update. Now, of course, we knew Fall Guys was coming to Nintendo Switch and Xbox. It was announced a year and a bit ago, but we never had a final date. We all assumed the exclusivity would occur about a year after the 1-year contract with PlayStation, which means it would have been in August of 2021. Boy, were we wrong. It took them nearly an entire year to get back over here, but I want to run you through some quick updates. First, the big update that's occurring to Fall Guys. Let's just get this one out of the way to start off with. Fall Guys is coming to the Nintendo Switch on June 21st. All right.
I thought the number one update was it lost its subtitle.
Why? What was the subtitle?
It was Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. It's no longer called that. It's just Fall Guys.
Just Fall Guys. Oh, interesting. A couple other things to make sure you're aware of. It is now cross-platform and cross-progression. It will be free to play with a premium season pass. Now, for those of you that maybe don't keep up with the industry, what's going on, Epic Games, you may know them from such big hits as Fortnite and Rocket League, purchased Mediatonic about a year and a bit ago, which means their model that they're going to have for Fall Guys is going to be free to play, not a shock here. And your season pass will be where they're going to be making their monetization, similar to what they did when they brought Rocket League in-house. They changed that to free to play and gave it as well. This isn't a huge shock, but that infrastructure, that purchase that Epic gave or that Epic bought Mediatonic for is actually really critical for the reasons they're having some of the successes and some of the things that they're doing here. A couple things to be aware of in regards to it. It is also coming to the Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X on the exact same day as well. It's coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. It's coming to PC via Steam and the Epic Game Store as well. All of this launching with a big update on June 21st. Now, if you're a person who already had Fall Guys before, you paid some money for it, Remember how Nintendo had the like ambassador program for the 3DS? Fall Guys is kind of doing that. They're giving you some extra swag, some in-game currency to say thank you for your amazing support as well. I will call
a little information about Steam. I think it's available on Steam now, but once June 21st hits, it will no longer be available on Steam.
It will be going to the Epic Game Store because Epic owns them.
Right. If you're playing on Steam, you can continue to play on Steam. You just can't start new on Steam after June.
Yeah,
at the end of
absolutely.
June.
And since we've got our wonderful Game Pass news, Nick here talking about Xbox, actually, Major Nelson himself was there in the presentation and said that Game Pass subscribers can get one free costume a month for the first 3 months. So kind of sweetening that deal for folks to jump on and play Fall Guys as well. I'm excited for this to come out. I was really, really hoping they were going to say an out today. Presentation about 30 minutes. I was a live reaction on our YouTube channel. But folks, what do you think of Fall Guys finally coming to the Nintendo Switch and all these other platforms? What are our thoughts? Nick, let's go to you.
I think it's amazing. I've been waiting for it too. I've wanted to play this game. It looks like a lot of fun. I think they nailed it as with the cross-platform, cross-progression. I think that's really key. So that means I can be down here on my Xbox, then I can go upstairs on my Switch, and everything will just, as they're advertising, will seamlessly transfer. And that's what I want. That's what makes Knockout City so much fun. It was like I could be down here, then I go to the Switch, and everything worked. And so I think that's key to what they advertised or what they announced.
That means they learned the lessons from when the Switch had Fortnite release, and there was some hangups.
Yeah. I mean, I think again, the cross progression, the cross save, multi-platform, free to play. These are all key markers. Battle Pass. These are all key markers of Epic. Of Epic's influence. And again, I don't think that based on the team of Mediatonic and the success of Fall Guys, had Epic not purchased them, they would have been able to scale the way that they have. I think this puts them in a really healthy position. And I think this was a very smart purchase by Epic. And again, I think just Mediatonic being able to say, you've got the infrastructure, we can now use this. This is now going to push Fall Guys kind of into that next level, which is what Epic wants it to be. And again, a great monetization model for them to bring in. Literally the day after this was announced, I went into Fortnite, and the first tab, like the news section, was, hey, you should watch the Fall Guys announcement in Fortnite. And you're like, I see what you did there. I see you. And then interestingly enough, hey, some of those bean costumes, one of the first ones they were announcing that they're currently developing is Assassin's Creed Ezio. Guess who was just on the Fortnite skin shop not too long ago? Assassin's Creed. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, so they're just bringing these pieces together. This is going to continue to be a massive money machine for them. I think it's going to be great. Tim, what are you thinking of Fall Guys?
I was wondering the same thing when it took so long for it to come out. And I think we brought it up before, like, was our interest waning because of how long it was taking? But as soon as I think they did a great job with the video, kind of hyping things up and getting you ready for what's coming June 21st. So I'm excited and looking forward to, playing either with my family if they're interested and or the community as well. So.
Yeah. Jesse, does this interest you at all?
No, I tried it on the PS5 and I don't think I ever got past the second stage. So I'm
That's fair.
okay, this again, me with multiplayer games. So I'm not even going to download it. My son might, he'll probably play it on his PS5 more than he'll play it on his Switch, but he'll probably download it. That's
fair. And if you are a Switch person who's asking, it is said to be running, the Switch version is running at 30 FPS docked or handheld. Any other thoughts on Fall Guys? I know I'm excited to jump in, but anyone else?
Do you have to have NSO for this on Switch? Do you know?
I suspect not. And the reason being is because you don't need NSO to play Fortnite or Rocket League. They walked they walked around that and said, no, we ain't doing that. I also imagine, and again, I haven't played Fall Guys. I don't know. Is voice chat a thing in Fall Guys? Because that would probably occur. And again, much like how Fortnite has it, they just walked right around Nintendo. It's probably an option.
Yeah. I do not know. I have not played it.
Normally, if it's free to play, then normally don't need NSL.
Yeah.
Which is probably one of the reasons why they went to free to play, so to get around that.
Yeah. Well, I think Epic's just I think it'll be interesting. Epic. Yeah, good for them, right? They can do it. They can bankroll. They can do it. I think it'll be interesting to see over time. What other franchises does Epic end up picking up at the time? The interesting part I think about Fall Guys was such a specific moment in time for like 3 months, right? It was being displayed on ESPN because Tim the Tatman couldn't get a crown, right? Like it had a hot minute. And I think in some ways sort of like Among Us as well had these hot minutes because streamers picked it up. And then it kind of died off. And I think, you could go onto Twitch and I don't know, Jesse, maybe you can jump over to Twitch right now and just see how many people are on Fall Guys right now, just for a rough number, comparatively to some of those. It definitely fell off. I think it coming back beginning of June, cross-play, right, multi-platform. This is going to give Fall Guys that boost in the arm that it really, really needs. Now, whether it has a long-term staying power, I definitely don't think it's going to be the same realm as something like Fortnite. But I think it can definitely maintain it. I think like huge people are going to jump on it. A community is going to jump on it. I think it's going to really do well and kind of give it again that really sharp kick in the arms to jump into it, which is great. The other part I will say is that if you are interested in Fall Guys and you haven't played it, you can actually go over and go to epicgames.com right now and do a Fall Guys free for all pre-registration. And as people pre-register for Fall Guys, it unlocks costumes, unlocks kudos and banners and stuff like that. So if you do not already have Fall Guys, are not registered for it, don't have an account, you can actually basically pre-set up your Epic account so that when it is ready, you get some free sweet swag. So check that out. Again, head over to epicgames.com. Folks, anything else you want to talk about for Fall Guys?
Ready for it.
Ready for it. All right. Hey, listen, I'm looking at the news items. I just want to check. Oh, where do we put this other thing? Where do we put our conversation with Mr. Nick? Mr. Nick, we're going to go straight to you right now. I don't really care about new F-Zero game, to be straight and honest. We'll talk about it later, but I like to sit in a pocket and have a good conversation. Nick, of course, half the host of the Game Pass News, Mr. Sean Abbott being the other one. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, one of the absolute best Xbox gaming podcasts out there. So if you haven't already, go subscribe to Game Pass News, both on Twitch and on podcasts as well. But Nick, Xbox is kind of your bread and butter. That's what you're built on.
Yep.
Nick, we got to have a chat about Xbox. What have your boys? What have Phil been doing over there last couple of weeks? Because I'm concerned about your 2022. Some things have changed. So maybe Nick, can you give us a rundown? What's happened with Xbox? And I'd love to talk to you about what is Xbox going to do for 2022 now, and what is their E3 going to be? And I'd love to hear you.
Yeah. So, I think it's pretty well known, but if you don't follow Xbox in the industry, Bethesda, who is part of Xbox Studios, came out and said Redfall, which really nobody really thought Redfall was going to come out. It's a vampire Left 4 Dead kind of thing. But the big one is Starfield and Redfall are both being pushed to 2023. And Starfield was Xbox, Microsoft games. That was what everybody was looking for. It didn't matter if they didn't have a single other game if Starfield held its date. And I'll tell you, John called me out last time on Dads for saying I didn't think he would get pushed. And I really didn't. Mostly because they've been putting out these video diaries. And I don't know business, Justin. I mean, you can tell me, like why would you put out video diaries and push hype when you weren't sure that you could hit your mark? I don't know. They've been putting out these things every couple of weeks. And so I was like, nah, they're there. And then to be pushing this hype and then not make it, it's crazy. And then on top of that, right before they announced that, Xbox's network crapped the bed and nobody could play Game Pass for pretty much a weekend. So yeah, it's been a rough spell for my Xbox community for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. So let me ask you this, and I was thinking recently. So obviously not knowing what now, Xbox is going to have an event. They are going to have an event in June, which would have been around E3, whether we believe or not E3 exists, but it's their event with Bethesda. what does Xbox have in the chamber for 2022 that fans should be getting excited about? Because obviously we had Halo come out last year, the multiplayer first in November. That was a great drop. Then the campaign hit, but it seems like, and maybe I'm just reading the room wrong here, Nick, but it seems like Halo Infinite has kind of cooled off. Season 2 is coming up again. Is it, and have they made enough changes to bring folks back into that IP and to re-engage? And does it have staying power?
Does Halo Infinite have staying power? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. It could, if they could get their ducks in a row like Epic. Just to be honest, Epic makes that look easy, right? I mean, like finding that license thing, bringing it into the game, bringing it into all their games, making the skins, doing all that stuff. And I think when you watch it on Fortnite, it's like, oh man, yeah, this is great. And I think 343 thought, yeah, we can do this. And it's not as easy as Epic makes it look, just to be honest. And so they're having trouble churning out that content, finding out how the leveling system should work so that it plays for both a person like me who's going to get killed like immediately and just wants to have some fun and do some objectives, and for people who want to see if they can, get the last Spartan standing. They're having a lot of trouble. If they can figure that out, then yeah, I think Halo's got the brand, it's got the name to be a really good online shooter, but it's not there right now. And that's okay, because Fortnite wasn't there right away either. Mm-hmm. So it's not dead yet. But if they don't figure it out and fix it within the next 6, I'd give them season 3. If they don't fix it by season 3, then it's probably going to be left in the dust.
Yeah. So my other question, that 2022, what does Xbox have in the chamber? That is a known quantity. And again, you can use some speculations, right? That is a known quantity that should have Xbox fans getting excited for.
Yeah, so there's a bunch. Here's the problem. They have games that they're more than likely going to release. Are they going to get Xbox fans really excited? I don't know. We have a Plague Tale coming out, a new Plague Tale, which a lot of people do like. We have Hellblade 2, which should be coming out. Now, these are hanging in the 2022 balance. There is not like, nobody's come out and said, these games are coming out this day at this time. Be excited. So we're hoping that at this showcase, that's what happens. Because if it doesn't, then there ain't no games in the Xbox chamber, just to be first part, just to be real honest. Like, so you have Hellblade, you have Plague Tale, Scorn has come out and said, Bloober Team has come out and said that they have said that is marked for an October to November release. So not a specific date, but they have actually said that that's the plan. Forza Motorsports, half and half. The community thinks it could be this year. Half thinks there's no way it's going to be in 2023. So there are games out there that Xbox has hanging this year that they can announce for hopefully the next 6 months. And it's very important that they do announce at least some of these. They're not bangers like Starfield. They're not like the whole industry goes crazy like it would for a Starfield announcement in 2022. So they're not, I don't think they have that in the chamber for this year at all. It's just not there. But if they can announce enough of these and keep them rolling every other month to drop one of these more medium tiered things, then I think they can, I'm just going to say it, they can limp their way through 2022 until they get to the bangers in 2023.
Yeah, thank you for that insight, because I was struggling to think of. I was like, oh, what do they have, right? That's really kind of casting or planting a flag in it. One of the challenges I have, and this will sound like it's a bit snarky at Xbox, and for those of you I enjoy Xbox, right? I played their. I think there's. Nah. But I guess here's my question: when is Xbox going to actually be running on all cylinders? Because what I always kind of hear is like next year. Next year's going to be a banger. Next year's going to have it all. And it feels like, and they have made some massive acquisitions. I would argue the biggest acquisitions in kind of all of video game history over the last 18 to 24 months. Bethesda, right? That's a massive, massive acquisition. Right. We've now got the Activision acquisition, which is going through, and I don't think it's finalized till June of 2023, as memory serves. But there are some massive houses, right? There, I mean, we're not talking millions, we're talking $1 billion acquisitions. And those are big ones, but they've done a lot of other smaller ones over the last several years. Phil Spencer shows up on stage. We bought this studio. We bought this studio. We bought this studio. We got this studios. Where are those games? Where are those games showing up? Because right now, Nick, it looks like a lost leader. And this is not a good thing for a company that needs to be like in a couple of moments here, we're going to talk about the fact that Xbox sold amazing, right, in the Japanese market. Xbox Series S did fantastic. You need to populate that with games to have people coming back to it. When is Xbox going to show up and bring their actual year?
Especially because PlayStation is starting out the gate slow as well because they can't get consoles out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
no, you're totally right. Now's the time. Go ahead, just.
So they talk about the Xbox selling more than PS5. I think this is still just who can get systems on shelves more.
100% it is, Jesse, but that's dollar sales. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I go into a store, I want a PlayStation. There isn't one there. Well, I guess I'm buying an Xbox. Boom. That's Xbox, you're actually making headway. You're getting somewhere. Don't screw it up by not having anything there.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. So now you have people in your ecosystem, which is exactly what Xbox wants. They really don't care about hardware sales. Just to be honest,
Yep.
they don't. They want people in the ecosystem. So you're right. They've made that headway because Sony is having trouble getting those systems out like Xbox is. For whatever reason that is, maybe they've got chip priority. I don't know. That's a thing that's been floating around as an industry rumor. But you're right. It wouldn't take a lot, as we have a prominent member of our community, right, to say, yeah, this doesn't have my thing anymore. John from the Dads After Dark was like, I'm moving on to Sony. So, yeah, they need to have some games out. When are they going to do that? I think I don't have the answer to that question, but I can tell you this. They need probably some different management. Not probably. They need some different management. And not saying Phil needs to go away, because that's definitely not the case. Phil is driving the hype train. He knows when to speak. He knows when to do an article that pushes what needs to be done. That's a key piece to a puzzle that not everybody can do. But can he do that and lead all these studios? No. The answer is no. I don't think anybody can. And so they need to figure out their management of who they put where, so that everybody can keep pushing that train forward for each of these studios. Who's going to be the liaison to Xbox for Bethesda, for, all these different studios? I mean, oh my gosh, the Coalition, the Compulsion Games. I mean, double is it Double Fine? No, who?
Yeah, Double Fine.
Yeah, Double Fine. Yeah, Psychonauts. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's all these different studios, and I don't know how that management chain works, but at the moment, it doesn't seem to be working. I think that's pretty obvious. So, but that's a piece I think they need.
Okay. I'm good. And again, I'm not throwing shade at you, Nick, right?
No,
We're having people are like, why is he so mad at Nick? Nick seems so nice. Why is Justin so mad at him? Nick, a couple other questions I have for Xbox. I do want to talk about two things I'm putting on radar. We'll start off with this one. Xbox everywhere, right?
Huh?
This came out, Phil made a very clear statement on this about 3 weeks ago. Fortnite coming to Game Pass for free and as part of their Xbox Everywhere strategy.
Everywhere, yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that move? And where do you directionally think that's going to go? And are we going to see some fruition of that in E3?
Well, one, I'm pretty sure they haven't come out and said what tanked the network, but I have a pretty good feeling that it was Fortnite free on their stream that tanked that. I mean, the moment they said that, it went live on Friday, and I don't know, it just seems to all line up that that weekend is the weekend that Xbox's network just couldn't handle it. That's just my conjecture. What do I think about Xbox Everywhere? They have foreshadowed this a year ago, saying that they were going to be on TVs. Now they're talking about these streaming pucks, which is exactly what I wanted to hear, because my TV is probably not going to be on the list that gets the app. So I'm very excited to hear about this, kind of like a Roku kind of thing that they're calling a streaming puck. Do they bring that to E3? Their showcase coming up in June? I think it would be good if they do, as long as they have first party games to show before they announce it. Like, it'd be great if they said Plague Tale, Hellblade, you're going to get all these this year. You're going to get, some type of Doom material. You're going to get all these games I'm talking about. And Now we don't know because, like you have already said, we think we're going to get Deathloop, but Fall Guys would say maybe not because the year's up in September. So we'll see how that works. Deathloop should be coming to Xbox pretty soon, though. We conjecture. So there's that's there. And if they announce all these games and then say, hey, look, now you can play them on your TV with this. But if their plan is, and I don't think it is, because Xbox can read the room pretty well with their fans. If their plan is to come out and announce a bunch of crap for 2023 and then say, and look at what we got, people are going to be like, what am I supposed to play on that thing? Like, why do I care that you guys have a streaming puck when there ain't nothing you're bringing out? So if they do, they better have first party games this year to back it up. What's up,
Tim?
I would also like to say that, and you guys brought this up as well, that I think a good thing to bring up with the puck is the family plan, because that would sell more living rooms. I think if they have a puck that you don't have to go and buy the whole system, you can just get the puck and the family plan. Again, you need to have games that will interest the families too, but having that combination, I think, would help as well.
And actually, those are out there. Surprisingly, people don't realize, but like when you look at Game Pass, I mean, a lot of the stuff that comes to Nintendo, the Paw Patrols and all that kind of stuff, that's on Game Pass right now. It just doesn't get the type of press that, you know, a lot of the other games that come to that system get. So
I did see that on Twitter that they had a handful of kid games that are coming to Game Pass.
Yeah.
So.
And Tim, if I was to make a choice, I would say bring me the family plan over the puck. Like if I had to choose between the two, I think the family plan will garner more hype and interest for their fan base than that puck ever will.
And I think I agree with you on that as well. Even more so, where I don't think they would bring the puck to E3, their E3 thing, because they've learned from the past that it has to be focused on games. It's, you know, gamer oriented. They can talk about hardware separately in another thing, you know, somewhere else. Yeah. Maybe even leading up to that or somewhere down the line closer to the holidays or something, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. My hope is that they have 4 or 5 games this year to bring out, and that Phil Spencer did a thing of like, let's get bad news. Let's have the bad news first and have it early. And so they announced it, got it out of the way so that people wouldn't be shocked. I liken it to in our podcast this week. I likened it to the E3 when Animal Crossing got announced. That was a banger E3 for Nintendo. But for me, and I know for a lot of people, that one game, right, that got pushed to 2020, which was the best decision that Nintendo ever made and didn't know it was. But that was kind of a cloud over that E3. It was like, oh, there's this game and Animal Crossing, and look at this. Oh, and it's now delayed for 6 months. And it's like, you knew it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was still hard to like keep the hype. And so I think Phil is like, I'm hoping at least Phil is like, let's get this out of the way so that we can announce all this stuff and we don't have a cloud of bad news on our showcase while we're trying to build hype. That's my hope. Otherwise, Xbox is in trouble. That's just a fact. I mean, they're not going to sync. It's not going to sync them. So I don't want people to be like, oh, Nick thinks it's not going to sync them. It's just going to make for a really rough 2022. And they've lost, in my opinion, they've lost the trust of the fans to point to a game a year out. Like they can't say, oh, look at all these games and they're going to be out in the mid of 2023. What? You've said that too many times now and missed the mark for me to think. It's like an indie world, right? Now it's like if it's past 6 months, I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'll see that or not. I don't bank on that date one bit, you know. So
well, one of the things too that I think is something to keep in mind is the I lost it. Dang it. I just left. It was like, there it goes.
While you think about that, I want to comment. So it's kind of like in contrast to Nintendo, they try to not announce the game if it's many games beyond a year from now, which, you know, so when it comes to January, when we haven't had any big announcements yet, we're like, well, we only know what's going on until April. What's going on the rest of the half? We know stuff is coming. Stuff always comes. But there's a lot of unknowns. Where the others, they announce everything 2 or 3 years in advance, so they know it's coming. It's coming. They just don't yet know if it's coming this year or not.
Right. Yeah.
And what I was going to say is that I think the other thing that we have to keep in mind as fans, and it's tough because we see this with Nintendo, is Microsoft is killing it, for a while here. And so any kind of lull, any kind of back to normal, any coming down is going to look worse than it already is, so, right. And that's what
and let me say, Sean and I have turned Cyberpunk into a verb. Let me say, I would rather Bethesda do what they did than Cyberpunk Starfield. Okay. That's just a fact. All right. I mean, so if that's the difference, in fact, I would even rather them do that instead of release their normal game, which I think we can all admit are quite buggy. Okay. I mean, Fallout's come out quite buggy. If they're reaching to the next tier, I'll give them that 6 months. That's fine. I'd rather see Bethesda lose that thing that follows them around of like, well, it's a Bethesda game, so it's probably going to have bugs when it releases. If they can get rid of that, all the better. That's what I say. So take the time you need, but also, yeah, it puts Microsoft Studios in a bit of a pickle for 22.
From the chat here, Chris asks, Nick, are there still games on Game Pass that are console only?
Yes, yeah, there are. I can't spit them out to you right off the top of my. Actually, I probably can. We keep a list of Game Pass games, but yeah, there are a handful, not very many, but they're like Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. That was console only, dropped on Game Pass.
It's such a weird game to only be console only.
I know. Citizen Sleeper. So I don't know how they choose what happens here, but Jurassic World Evolution, I believe, is only console only. So yeah, there's a handful of them. It's definitely going away. A lot of times you see games drop on console, and then like in a couple weeks you'll see an update from Game Pass that says now it's on cloud too, or now it's on PC also. And so it's like they get it on the console and then they get it to the rest.
Are there any games that are on cloud that aren't on PC, or vice versa? Because Turnip Boy may not have a PC version, which is why it's not there. But it doesn't mean it couldn't be streamed on a PC if it's available via cloud.
I cannot, and I could be wrong here, but I can think of games that are not. I can think of games that are not on. I can't think of a game that's on cloud but not on console. Now, there are certainly PC games. In fact, Hardship Spacebreaker is coming out next week, and I would love to play that game, but I refuse to put a game on my console or on my computer because it's for streaming, and Lord knows if I put a game on there, it'll probably blow it up. But yeah, there are certainly PC games that come out. Warhammer is another one. Love that game. I don't love it because I haven't played it, but it looks dang cool. I'd love to play it. Let me put it that way. But not on console. So yeah.
I'm gonna leave you with one final question here, Nick, and this is probably a large debate question. Is Xbox suffering from a lack of mascot or IP identity? So here's my story. Recently I was, we're talking about Fall Guys, and I was in the pre-show and I was like, man, I really hope that Fall Guys, they have some exclusive skins for Nintendo. Man, I'd love to see a Mario skin. I'd love to see a Samus skin. I'd love to see a Link skin. These would all be amazing. Donkey Kong skin. And then I was like, hey, maybe Xbox will have a Halo skin and
yeah, right. Yeah.
a Game Pass sticker.
Yeah, just a large neon sign.
So it's funny when I think of Xbox, I immediately think of Xbox, I immediately think Game Pass. When I think of Nintendo, we think of Mario, right? When we think of Sony, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's Crash, maybe from a long, long time ago for those that lived in the 90s, right? Maybe it's Last of Us, maybe it's
Kratos,
maybe it's Forbidden West. Does Xbox struggle from an identity that they don't really own? And even as you think of like, yes, they bought all these shops, right? I mean, you can make the argument that like Overwatch, all the Overwatch characters are now, but like what is, and I guess maybe Gears of War, right? But I really struggle with what their IP identity mascot is. And I mean, there's an argument of, do they need it? No, but like I should be able to associate these things.
The chat says Clippy.
Yes.
Clippy, yeah. Which actually Clippy is now in Halo Infinite. Just if you didn't know, you can get a little gun thing, that charm that hangs on your gun, and there you go. Which I find hilarious. So there's two ways to look at this, and when I first started in the Xbox realm again, and I started a podcast, I was like, they need a mascot. Halo doesn't work. Master Chief isn't blah blah. But it's interesting. So what Xbox needs to figure out is what they want to be. Do they want to be the head? Obviously, they want to be the head of all their studios, but do they want to be the mouthpiece for all their studios? That's the question. Because they have Doom, they have Gears, they have Master Chief, which is the one that's that's the one that's theirs. But right now, when you think of Doom and you think of Gears of War, you think of id. You're like, you don't think of Xbox Studios, and that's kind of because of how they made their studios. They just said, we'll take you, and we'll take you, and we'll take you. Whereas Nintendo cut their teeth, right, for decades, and made an IP and grew it, and made another IP and grew it, and made an IP, and that one didn't work, so they went to another one, and so now they have this, and they're theirs. But Xbox doesn't have that, so they have to figure out: do they want to be the mouthpiece for these studios and try to make all of this theirs, and they speak for all these studios? Or did they want to be more of like what we see with Embracer, which is like, until Embracer made a big move, they were like, who the hell's Embracer? I don't know. No, because they don't want to be the mouthpiece for their studios. The studios speak for themselves. They, in like a sense of marketing, own that mascot, not in a sense of business, but they speak for those mascots. They are that. So I think Xbox needs to figure out which realm they want to take. Because right now they're kind of trying to be like, well, I don't know. We're a little bit of both, And until they figure out which one they want to do, those mascots are going to be like, well, that's an Xbox Doom guy. But it's really id. But it's Xbox, I don't know, so it gets confusing. And I think that right now is why they struggle with mascots.
Okay. I got one more for you.
I'll take them all.
Rumor has it that Xbox might be dusting off a rare franchise from the late 90s that we all liked playing, bringing back GoldenEye for the Xbox coming soon.
I thought you were talking about Conquer.
No. Where does this rumor land? What are your thoughts on it? Is it going to happen? Also, could this be a collaboration with Nintendo, and Nintendo also gets GoldenEye back to play online as crossplay with Xbox?
I will stake my flag in that it's not going to be a Nintendo collaboration unless Nintendo wants xCloud, unless Nintendo allows xCloud on Switch. If it changes, that's because Phil finds himself in a corner in 22. Because when things were hot in 21, he basically said, listen, Nintendo's a closed system. We don't really want to work on a closed system. You get all of us or you get none of us. And that's how this works. So if he changes his tune on that, it's because he finds himself in a corner, and he's got to start producing some games and some good PR. Do I think it'll happen? Yeah, I do. I think they're trying real hard to make the licensing. I'll figure out all that businessy type stuff that better than I. And once they can, they want this out and in the public, and to start talking about it for sure.
Great.
If instead of something new on Nintendo, they just get the N64 game as part of the expansion pack.
That's right. Yeah, it could be.
Chris asks, which Bond is in this GoldenEye? It is Bronson, not Craig.
Oh, good, because I couldn't answer that question. I got no idea.
That's okay. Listen, I have been barraging Nick with peppering him with Xbox questions, and of course he is deflecting them and bouncing them off like any good Xbox fan does. Tim or Jesse, any questions or any more comments for Nick on Xbox stuff?
Nothing from me.
Why haven't you watched Spirited Away yet, man? Come on.
Dude, I had to when Jesse came at me, I was like, what even is it? It's like an anime? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is it an anime movie? I don't know. I looked it up. I was confused. I kept going.
Yeah, it's a kind of like Disney picked it up for a while there, where it was showing over here. They brought it over here to the U.S. for U.S. audiences and stuff for a while there. And Spirited Away was one where my kids grew up on that one, along with a few others. And it is.
I think Disney had distribution rights to Studio Ghibli's films for a while.
Right, and it's something that if you are a fan of animation, not just animes, but just animation and things like that, it is another reason why you would probably watch that as a parent, as well as the story, because it was dubbed with English, so you could watch it with the kids and all that kind of stuff. They didn't have to read any subtitles when Disney was bringing them over. So
I think it was
brought like to America. There are a lot of things here that are making me realize why I haven't seen it.
I think it was like the next biggest Studio Ghibli film since Princess Mononoke, which is probably what most people think of as their first one they've seen.
Yep.
So this is all in response to a game called Spirit Tea. Is that right?
Yeah. We were talking about Spirit Tea. Yeah.
And Spirit Tea said that their game is like Stardew Valley and Spirited Away. And I was like, no. I don't know what Spirited Away is, but it's like Spirit Fair and Stardew Valley. Listen, you are a video game. Reference video game, Spirit Tea. That's all I got to say. Your game looks cool. I can't wait.
Probably their influence, I'm sure, was
maybe
Spirited Away.
Okay.
And that's probably why they brought that up. And that's why, Jesse came at you hard for not watching it. So,
like Homer, I just went back in the bushes, just like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep.
No, I don't.
Good stuff.
I ask all my Xbox questions during the Game Pass news, episodes. So
I like it. Thanks. Hey, Tim, I wonder if you can do me a huge favor, pal.
Sure.
Can you step in and take over for host for a second? I have to step away with something.
Of course.
I will be back. I will also kick you the Manscaped ad in case you have to do it. But I'll be back in a bit.
Sure thing.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's what we do. We spin it like that. So anyways, so going back to the news headlines, now that, Nick can take a break now from all the Xbox questions, but I'm sure we'll have
he's
more.
Gone to stop derailing us.
Yes, we'll go back to a couple of the news items we have here, which is one, Reggie explains why there hasn't been a new F-Zero game. So the source that we got this from was My Nintendo News, and Reggie was speaking to VentureBeat, and he said most likely the reason why a new entry hasn't been made yet by the Kyoto-based company is most likely because they haven't been able to come up with a new unique gameplay strategy for it. So in Reggie's words, why was F-Zero abandoned? The insight I would share is that at least during my tenure, Nintendo developers were always experimenting with different gameplay styles, always thinking about where unique experiences could be applied back, either to an existing franchise or maybe creating a new franchise. My bet is that somewhere in the Kyoto development centers, some developer is playing around with an idea that might be applied to F-Zero. It's never a situation, at least in my experience, where the company makes a conscious decision not to continue supporting XYZ franchise. Historically, it's just hasn't worked that way, not when I was there. So basically, he's saying that he's speculating from his experiences that they're trying to figure out a way for a new spin for F-Zero. And I think that Nintendo needs to start listening to their community. What do you guys think? Because there's a lot of ideas for people that people have been throwing out there for F-Zero.
Well, even if it doesn't have a new gimmick, it's been so long since the last one. Its existence is the gimmick.
Well, and we've all speculated, like some of the indie developers who came out with games that were like Wipeout for Sony's PlayStation, like Redout, I think was one, and then I forget the title of the other one, but they were fast flying games that we were saying, like, Nintendo, give the licensed IP, F-Zero IP, to those companies. So there's one idea: work with another company. Like they do with Mercury Steam for Metroid. Right. So
you think they're worried about is this still relevant enough to our current demographic to actually make some cash? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know in our sphere of our Twitter, we're like F-Zero, but really, like, how many people? I mean, in my sphere of people, I thought Metroid was going to sell like 10 million because everybody was talking about it. Okay,
True.
Not going to lie. So it's like, so yeah, we hear ourselves being like, F-Zero is fantastic. We should all have it. But in the larger sphere of Nintendo's demographic, are they looking at it saying, yeah, that's not what everybody's saying. That's just what you all are saying, you know?
Right.
So I don't know.
That is very true. Very true. But you may have heard, a lot of people may have heard me say this before. I joked about it before. I actually brought up the idea to the All In podcast guys there when we talked about F-Zero. And that was my idea, was to build on what they did in Smash with Captain Falcon with the ramen noodles, right? Where he loved the ramen, he was eating it up and all that stuff. And I said, why don't you make a game where Captain Falcon is trying to open a ramen restaurant, and in doing that he has to race and earn money to be able to open a restaurant, buy recipes, learn recipes. And so that's your new element. So it's like you're still racing, you're still trying to win races to win money, but you're building a restaurant and also learning how to, use recipes and stuff like that. That was my spin on it. And that's what I mean by listening to the community, not just my idea, but I'm surprised they don't listen to the community. If you're having a hard time coming up with something, then are there companies like Mercury Steam came to Nintendo with the Metroid idea, right? And then Nintendo was like, okay, we'll give it to you, but first you need to do, Samus Returns. Let's see what you do with that. And they did that, and then then they came up with Samus or the Dread game. So, and they've worked with other indie companies before. So that's why we're like, this is what makes it weird for Nintendo for me, is like, why do they do, like, we see them moving forward in some areas in some ways where they're like, oh yeah, they're working with an indie company to do this Zelda spin, for the dancing, the rhythm game that they came out with for there. And then all of a sudden they won't do anything with F-Zero with other companies. It doesn't make sense to me.
Or it's sitting on a shelf done somewhere and Nintendo just decides it's not time to release it yet.
Exactly.
Just like the Metroid Prime trilogy.
Right.
Yeah, they're like,
in their back pocket. They'll drop it at E3, watch.
Yeah. I still laugh to think of how they've done this year, right? Where they're like, oh, that game needs more time. Okay, well, we'll just take this one and we'll put that one first. And Xbox, like, is there anything available? We'll put anything there. Like, and Nintendo's got this like shelf of finished games, and they're like, how about this one? Here, I don't know, whatever.
And yet they still
Twilight Princess.
And yet they still decided to keep Pikmin 4 on the shelf too. That.
Well, I mean, I think it's so funny, right? To your point earlier, Xbox is buying all these studios and they can't do anything. Nintendo is keeping their studios relatively tight, outsourcing the groups that they work with. But yeah, I mean, like, when does a group go, yeah, you know what, Xenoblade? Yeah, we're going to move it up by about 7 weeks. That's cool. Not a problem. We've got things sitting on a docket. I was actually just listening to Kind of Funny Games podcast with Jeff Grubb. And Jeff was talking about Pikmin 3. He's like, I was aware of Pikmin 3 months before it was announced, and it was literally just sitting there done. And they were just waiting for it. But this is a great example of what happens when you collapse your handheld division and your port and your home console division. You have a lot of studios working a lot of content. This is why Nintendo can sequence really, really well. And yes, we're disappointed when they're like, oh my gosh, Breath of the Wild moved to 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to tell you, you're still going to be playing a schwack ton of games because they've got a ton of games in their chamber. You're not going to be bored. All right. Yeah, we're disappointed, but let me tell you, there's banger after banger after banger almost every single month. Like, these other consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, they're jealous that Nintendo has basically put all the dominoes together, but they've gotten there after years and years of work and can now pull these strings. You want to bet Pikmin 4 is done? Yeah, it's sitting on a desktop somewhere. You want to bet Mario Kart 9 is done? It's sitting on a desktop somewhere, right? Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, all those things sitting on a desk in a folder that says done on Miyamoto's like like right beside the recycle bin on his desktop. That's where they're all sitting.
The dangerous place to be.
Right.
Miyamoto lives dangerously.
That is still an interesting.
So is that what happened with Final Fantasy VIII?
That's actually what happened to Advanced Wars. He moved it to the trash file accidentally. Now they've had to go back and rebuild, and they hope that you don't remember.
But that's it's interesting that Reggie's spin on this is, that from his experiences that they sit on things because they want to be able to give it a new, fresh idea before, so it may not be all the games, but particularly F-Zero, his speculation is that they're waiting to put something new on it.
Yeah, and that, to be honest, that's what helps them out, right? I mean, because they have like what Justin is saying, they have these games that are done, so they don't have to take a Halo Infinite that's like, well, almost there, but we really can't wait. We've pushed this already. Like, they have time to be like, yeah, we got this. So you do what you got to do here, so that's a special product. And then once it's ready, we'll add it to the shelf over here. And when we're ready to push it out, we'll push it out.
Yep.
And that helps.
I just had a thought. Going back to the NES era, most franchises in their second game were just try something different, and normally it didn't stick, and their third game went back to the roots. But Super Mario Brothers 2 was the quote-unquote more of the same, which is what we're all saying we want for these other games, things that they're not releasing. So I wonder if that's left a sour taste in people's mouths back in 1986, and they haven't washed that out yet 40 years later.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did, I don't know if you'd call it a risk, but they did change things up with Zelda, with Breath of the Wild. So, but they went back to the original formula, I guess, if you will, too. They looked back at the original game and said, hey, what would this look like in a 3D open world? So, and that might be the spin that they're looking for F-Zero, is what do we need to put on this, what we've been doing, to make it new and people will want it and try it. And will it click? Who knows? Well, maybe not.
So
we all, like you said.
Since there was a question in the chat, I'll clarify for the audio listeners. I was referring to quote-unquote lost levels when I said Super Mario Brothers 2, because I was referring to the Japanese audience at that. Yes. Super Mario Brothers 2 is literally one. It's a ROM hack of one, basically.
Interesting way to put it. All right. Moving on to the next news bit, we had translating Skyward Sword's motion controls to traditional controls took 1.5 years to do, according to our source, Nintendo Life. Tom Crago, CEO of Tantalus, the company behind doing the port, spoke about the difficulties of translating the motion controls of the Wii Remote to the Switch's button inputs on a recent episode of the Fragments of Silicon podcast. The original Skyward Sword on the Wii required the Wii Motion Plus to play with, and there was no option to play with just button inputs. So this meant adding a second, more accessible control scheme, which was going to prove difficult. When asked if it was the hardest part of the process, Crago felt that because the motion controls were kind of the game and the unique selling point, that having it work button only, joystick only, was probably the biggest challenge for them. So something to consider for all this talk about Prime, right? Because that was, even though it was GameCube, so I know that, but everybody has been always asking for the trilogy, right? And that was spun to work on the Wii, and then obviously Wii U when they brought it there with the motion controls that they added to that. So it doesn't seem as simple as we would think it. Some of us might think of it is as like, well, because I think we brought up Skyward Sword before it was announced before. Like, are they going to bring that, and how difficult is it going to be for the motion controls to change?
Yeah, I didn't think that they were going to be able to do it.
Yeah. So
that has to be out as a prelude to Breath of the Wild 2, though. I mean, why if it's so hard when you when you have all these other Breath of the Wilds or all these other Zeldas, which it seems like people are wanting, like Wind Waker and stuff like Twilight Princess, they're like, let's do the one with the control scheme. That's really difficult. Let's choose that one to bring to this, which is like, why did you choose that one? It seems like much lower hanging fruit to choose from.
That's a good point.
It just seems crazy to me.
That is a very good point. Justin, what do you think? From a business point.
Yeah, I agree with this, Nick, right? Like the when we saw the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer falling from the sky, right? We saw the levels in the sky, or almost the sky loft.
Yes.
Man, right? There it is.
There's
the reason, right?
There.
And so I think that was telling a story, right? And Nintendo, their strategy for the Switch has been to put out a Legend of Zelda game every single year. I really think that they thought that this year was going to be Breath of the Wild. So last year, Skyward Sword made a complete connection to put that time and effort in. We'll see another Legend of Zelda game put out this year, obviously ahead of Breath of the Wild. But I think that's why. I think there's interconnection there, and they want people to play it to understand it.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and that's pretty straightforward, and I think it adds for some validity to what we talked about in regards to the difficulty of changing a game from a motion control game to traditional button game. So
waiting on Oracle or Minish Cap remakes. Hambone Johnny, I love your energy. It ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be Wind Waker or Twilight Princess.
If we see Oracle or Minish Cap anytime soon, it'll be on NSO.
Yeah, I think sure. Minish Cap would be part of the NSO stuff, or if they worked with Capcom to come out with a package where you got Minish Cap and the Seasons games. Those were all, Game Boy Advance games. So they're, if Nintendo worked with Capcom to do some sort of package there, maybe that's a possibility as well.
I've got to go back to Skyward Sword. It's been about a year since I played it last. It was for my birthday stream last year, so I got to go back and play some more.
Wow.
I can't say anything. I'm still trying to finish Breath of the Wild.
So am I. These are things I need to do before the next Breath of the Wild.
I've done it. I'm off of the train. I can say I've finished it. It's all good.
Yep.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's the news. And now for our sponsored ad break.
Hey, folks, big thanks to Manscaped for their continued support of NintenDads. We are huge fans of Manscaped, and we absolutely love their product. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I could say summer is coming, the sun is shining, shirts are off, and your balls are smooth. You heard that right. Your friends at Manscaped are here to make sure your beach balls are smooth as Florentine sand. In summer, you want to kill some cold beers and barbecues, not kill the vibe with pubes. Peek it out of your swim trunks. That's why Manscaped has their Performance Package 4.0. That's right, 4.0, to keep the party in your pants looking crisp and refreshing all summer long. Dive headfirst into summer by joining the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping when you use the code NINDADS, NINDADS. That's 20% off and free shipping. Now, I'm going to take a quick sidestep here and a plug. I saw the copy that we're doing for June, because Manscaped is continuing our support in June as well. And it reminded me, gentlemen, Father's Day is coming. Father's Day is coming. Do you got brothers? You got dads? You got father-in-laws? Maybe you just need to treat yourself good, right? Manscaped would make an incredible, incredible gift for them, right? Maybe you're like, I'm not giving my old man some ball trimmers. That's just gross, right? I ain't doing that. You don't got to, right? Because they got some incredible other lotions as well, right? They have got a shampoo 2-in-1. They've got a body wash. They've got deodorant, lip chap. They've got all kinds of products for you to use. So you've also got nose hair. Listen, that's a subtle way to tell dad, trim that nose hair, trim that ear hair. They've got the little weed whacker 4.0, the weed whacker to do that. So man, I would highly recommend it. And again, head over to manscaped.com, use the code NINDADS, NINDADS, for 20% off and free shipping. Big thanks to Manscaped for their continued support of Nintendo Dads and our Nintendo Dads community, keeping us hairless, fresh, and clean. Back to you, Tim.
I always love hearing your ad reads. They're so fun.
By
the way, how's your career in the voiceover field going? How's that going?
Oh, yeah, it's a sidestep and a half, isn't it?
I was afraid what he was going to ask about there for a second.
Right, I was like, where is this going? I guess for those of you, who don't know, I've been aspiring voice actor, I guess is what I would say. And I took last year in 2021, I took a real hard stance at trying to do it. Got in with a company, been doing a lot of auditions, and actually last week I secured a commercial. So I got in to do some recording and a commercial that's to be broadcasted in Canada. Actually, it's going to be on the East Coast, and I think it's more of a web commercial than it is on television. But it was a really cool experience and a lot of fun. And being on a podcast like this helps me kind of tune up that voice and tune up the experience to do it. So thank you for asking. It was a really cool journey the last couple of days to do it. So yeah.
So you got everybody, knocking at your door asking for more voiceover work yet?
No, not yet. It's all commercial stuff right now. But if you're listening to this right now and you need some voiceover, an intro for your stuff, or maybe you're working for a company who's looking for voice actors to do e-learning modules or whatever else you do, DM me. Hit me up in the DMs. I am happy to do anything.
There we go.
No anime dubs.
That does not sound. I'll do anime dubs. Sure, why not?
Justin will do anything for money. Okay, all right. I know. Now I know.
Oh, this is getting uncomfortable.
All right, let's move into let's discuss. All right, here we go. We get to talk about the Nintendo Dads Video Game Hall of Fame 2022 inductees. Finally, we took a little bit of a short break there. Somebody around here got COVID, and things got slowed down and thrown off.
All of us.
Just things were thrown into a loop. So this was supposed to be done a few weeks ago, but it is what it is. But we finally got it all down. We finally got some people to give us their votes. Nick, excuse me. And no, I'm kidding. If Sean was here too, I'd tease him too. So, but no, there was a few people that I didn't get them. I won't name any names. Justin, excuse me. Sorry. I'm still getting over COVID. So
I'm the worst. I'm the worst for all these kind of things. I do not respond.
I feel so bad. I was like, every time I see it, I'd be like, yeah, what game do I want? I got to really think about this. And then I'd close it and then I'd forget about it. And then I'd see it again and I'd be like, oh crap. And
thankfully we got it done and we were able to get it down to the list. And I didn't have to hunt down anybody else to get it. So starting with all of our show hosts gave their titles. So everybody who gave a title, it automatically goes into the Hall of Fame. There's no questions asked. Whether it falls under what we had for the community rules, I guess, if you will, it's just more or less what game should go in there. And everybody we did have the rules, but still, here's what we got. I put in SimCity for the Super Nintendo.
I'm surprised you didn't put that in earlier. Previous.
Well, we've only done this for a few years, so there were other games that beat that out. So for me, at least, But there's still a ton of other games. It's like, oh, I got to fight for that position to get in there. And in other cases, it gets put in by somebody else. Justin, you put in DuckTales for the NES. So that's a good one as well. Anything behind that pick for you?
You had asked me a couple times for a game and I didn't do it effectively. And I thought I need to respond quickly. And I thought, what game would I like playing as a child? And I thought DuckTales.
All right, cool.
So that was my very scientific process.
That works.
But here's actually, so there was also a reason why it was DuckTales in my mind, because I saw that indie showcase recently for Gunbrella. And I was like, oh, that totally reminds me of DuckTales. Oh man, I want to play DuckTales. And then I was like, what other games remind me of DuckTales? Shovel Knight with the Pogo. And then I was like, man, DuckTales is actually really kind of an important game in regards to this design and this aesthetic. And it really has kind of captured me. So there was a little bit more thought than just stop nagging me, Tim. DuckTales. All right, DuckTales.
Take it, DuckTales. All right. Marty picked Mortal Kombat for the Super Nintendo. So I'm surprised too, because he played the Genesis as well. I'm surprised he didn't say Genesis. Or maybe he just forgot that he could pick any system. It didn't have to be a Nintendo system.
True.
Who knows? But he picked Mortal Kombat for the Super Nintendo. Jesse, you picked Final Fantasy VI, which I'm also surprised that wasn't picked sooner. And that was for the SNES, because that is one of your top games.
Yeah, in previous years, I think I went for more legacy games that had an impact. And this year, I'm like, yeah, I think it's time to bring it up to an SNES game.
Okay.
So went with my favorite game of all time.
There you go. Dan.
Is it because of the opera scene?
Exactly. That is like the one scene in all of games that I would point at, the one song of any OST I would point at.
I'm going to look at the camera. Look at me right here. Get the ones. All right. Listen, folks, those of you that don't think I don't actually care about Jesse and pay attention to him, we have been working together for almost 8 years. And I could tell you right there and then that was why, because of the opera scene. All right. So all you haters out there saying, Justin's so mean to Jesse, he doesn't care. I do care. I listen. I just show my care in a different way.
Justin, you must get all kinds of feedback that we don't see, that you shield us from.
You should see all the DMs I get from our community. They are concerned. They're all concerned about your mental health and welfare.
And I'm playing the Pixel Remaster games in order, so I'll be playing 6 last. And when they get to the Opera House scene in the Pixel Remaster, they go HD 2D on that stuff, and it looks amazing.
Nice. That sounds awesome. It'd be nice if I could see that on the Switch.
Exactly.
Right. All right, Dan from Retro Logic, he put in Star Fox 64. So that's pretty cool for the N64. John, DatFast John, also from Retro Logic, he put in Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask for the N64/3DS. Sam from also Retro Logic, third strongest mole, as we know. For everybody who wanted it, he put in Plock.
Good job, Sam.
For Super Nintendo.
Come on, this is Sam. Sam really bending to peer pressure.
He was the one who fought for it last year, before he was on before he was a co-host. So, but yeah, and they gave good reason for it too. So, I think Andros wrote out probably one of the bit longer an essay on why Plock should be in our Hall of Fame in our Discord. So, John's the blocks. John put in Burger Time, the arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was probably one of the few who thought of that it didn't have to be a Nintendo system. So
I think the first year, I think I said arcade game as well.
Yes, you did.
At least it was
a few different ones.
It was Nintendo developed software, but yeah, this is completely non-Nintendo, which is fine.
Yeah. And there is another one on the list too. We'll talk about in just a minute. Drew put in Gauntlet for the NES, and which we if you all know Drew, he's a huge Gauntlet fan. So
Red Warrior shot the food.
I would have picked Gauntlet for the arcade, but again, I think people were forgetting that it didn't have to be Nintendo. Nick, you picked Super Mario Galaxy for the Wii.
Yes, I did. It was my favorite. It was the Mario that I've had the most fun with that wasn't already picked. I mean, if Super Mario Brothers 3 is probably like peak Mario for me. Just nostalgia and fun, and it still holds up. But yeah. Super Mario Galaxy.
Good pick. I have not actually played that one. So
good. Did you play 2?
I did not play 1 or 2.
Oh, you got to play one of them. You should play one.
I have them. I just never played them.
Well, save the princess first, okay?
Yeah.
And then,
I got to work on Zelda first.
Yeah, save Zelda first, and then you can save Peach, okay?
There we go.
Oh, it's not Peach.
Sean, he did pick a different system as well. PS1 Resident Evil. And he picked that because of it's genre defining. So for sure, that was a good one. And then the community voted. They voted, and I was actually surprised because this is a newer game. They picked, out of all the games, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Wii U/Switch. So,
And then here I'm forgetting that it was released on the Wii U one.
right. So a 5-year-old
I
game.
actually have the Wii U version of it.
I do too. Because it was Sam.
Didn't.
Sam didn't have a Switch yet, and he wanted to play it, so he was playing that game on the Wii U when that came out. While I was playing it on the Switch, very briefly, as we all know, because I'm still playing it. So, but that is our inductees to the Nintendo Dads Video Game Hall of Fame 2022. And I hope to one of these days take the time to put all of our inductees from the multiple years on our website. I just haven't gotten to that point yet because I want to make it look cool. So, all right, that's our inductees. Now we move on to the next topic. Let's discuss topic. And that is, Justin, you appeared on the Nintendo Drive and had some predictions for the not E3 coming up, which is basically the rules were whatever shows up in the next Nintendo Direct could be considered the E3 Nintendo Direct. And basically you had predictions that were scored, and the way they score it is the lower score of 1 means that it's most likely going to happen. Or if they gave you a 10 means it's the least likely to happen. And I even heard that somebody said that they got 11 somehow out of that scale.
I did. I gave Console Kato an 11 out of 10 on one of her predictions because it was definitely not going to happen.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure she was fully aware that it was a heck no.
That's funny. All right. So what I did was I actually took your predictions because you graciously gave them to me.
Yes, you nagged me about that. Yes, I see.
Yes, I did. I said, give them up, Justin. Give them up. And I asked the community what they thought, thumbs up or thumbs down, and even gave them the rules for the scoring if they wanted to add that, or maybe, I don't know, on each of your predictions. So here we go. I'm going to go over what they picked.
I think I voted no on all of them except for one.
So again, I'm gonna go over the thumbs up, thumbs down, and if there's a score, I'll bring up the score.
Sure.
So
yeah.
All right. So your first one that you gave me was number 1, Donkey Kong game coming out October release.
Yeah.
So your prediction was that they will announce a Donkey Kong game and it will be out in October. Now the community says 3 thumbs up and 12 thumbs down.
Community is dumb.
I don't know what was coming out there for a second.
They don't know what they're talking about.
And I gave you a score of 3.
All right.
So
I think Justin's contractually obligated, though, to say that a Donkey Kong is coming out.
Yes.
I think it's a thing.
I think this was also my bet last year also.
It was.
Yes. I think it was in your predictions too for this year. So
All
right. Number 2, you said Game Boy and GBA games coming to NSO. This would be announced again at their not E3 Direct.
Yep.
We have 9 thumbs up and 4 thumbs down. And I gave you a 1 score.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking this is going to happen.
Not a 1 score. I gave you a 3 score. Sorry, I gave you a 3.
It's okay.
Because usually their NSO stuff comes out at a later Direct, not an E3 Direct.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm like
October.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant on there, but because of them trying to build NSO more now, it could change. So that's why I gave it that 3 points. But the community agrees with you as well. So essentially, number 3, Star Fox game announced. Open world Star Fox, by the way. And so it means it's off the rails. 1 person gave you a thumbs up, Justin. 13 people said no way. Thumbs down. Did not agree with you. And I gave you 6 points for that.
Tim, that was just your starter. The 1 person was just your starter.
One on top of the starter, or was it?
No, it's just that's just your starter thumbs up, Tim. So nobody.
Oh, nobody. Nobody voted for Justin.
I'm done.
He's like, my community is not backing me up. Yeah, that's right. That is my start. Good point. All right. So yeah, 0. I forgot. I got to take one away maybe here on these points. But anyways, so 0 thumbs up and 12 thumbs down. So yeah, and I gave him 6 points. So meaning that more than likely they're not going to announce it. He'd get points for it if they do. Number 4, and this was something that I had mentioned a long time ago when Tunic came out. His prediction was Tunic's coming to the Switch and would be announced at this E3. So we have 10 people who agree with you, Justin, with thumbs up, and 3 people with a thumbs down. So
I think that was the one that I said yes.
There you go. And I gave you, I actually gave you 6 points for that one. Because I know why. Although I know this, I think this is coming to the Switch. I gave you 6 points because I don't think it'll be at the E3 Direct. I think it'll be at a later showcase.
World.
Yeah. Number 5, Nintendogs returns. So you got 3 thumbs up and 6 thumbs down. So yeah, the community says no on that. And I gave you 10 points for this one because
wow.
I want it to come true. So I wanted you to get the points because I predicted this for this year that Nintendogs would be coming back this year. So, and also 4 people said, maybe they're shrugging. They don't know. So 6, your number 6 prediction. New 3D Mario based on Bowser's Fury gameplay announced as a holiday 2022 game. You got 4 people with a thumbs up, 9 people with a thumbs down. And you actually got 2 scores in this one. I gave you 5 points, middle of the road there. And Hambone gave you 2 points. So
Hambone knows what's going on. He's smart.
Yeah. So no points there. Maybe for me, but number 7 pick, Pikmin 4 is announced. And this has split the community. 6-6. Thumbs up, thumbs down, with one person not sure. And I gave you 3 points. 2 people gave you 3 points on this one, actually. And then the last one, and I think you predicted this before, AC Valhalla coming to the Switch via cloud. And you got 3 thumbs up and 10 thumbs down.
Yeah. This is a pipe dream for this guy. But yeah, there's one other one. So yeah, I appreciate all that. There's one other I didn't add on here. I totally forgot to. And Tim, this is for you specifically. So you get to live react.
Okay.
I think we are not going to see anything about Metroid Prime 4. I think Nintendo is going to come out. They're going to say, a couple of years ago, we told you that Metroid Prime 4 was in development. At this point, it is still in development and we have nothing new to show you.
Yeah.
However, please watch the following. And the following will be a trailer for Metroid Prime 1 Remastered. Coming out this year, and it is only Prime 1. It is not 2 or 3. This is not the collection. It's just one game.
Now I heard you make that prediction actually on the Nintendo Drive, and I tried to make in the comment in the chat that that they did this last year at E3 and that's when they announced Metroid Dread. They mentioned Prime isn't ready, Prime 4 isn't ready yet. However, watch this, and then that's when they announced Metroid Dread. So will they do that 2 years in a row? That'd be pretty cool.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
That'd be pretty cool.
Because if they don't announce it there, they don't address it there, the amount of questions and comments you're going to get afterwards is ridiculous. They have to announce it. They have to comment on it there.
Yeah, and I think
it's going to be also similar to, we told you that Breath of the Wild would be available this year. Unfortunately, Breath of the Wild 2 will be a 2023 game. In the meantime, let me show you this.
Why do you think it's only going to be one? I'm just wondering what your thought process is.
My thought process is they're going to because 3 to redevelop or remaster all 3 is a lot of effort and a lot of work. So I think they're gonna like drip feed out because they have some momentum. They're gonna get out Metroid 1, maybe Metroid 2, Metroid 3, but I think that they're definitely going to and I think also that's the one that's the furthest away that probably needs the most work in regards to development cycle time. So I think, and also that way they can really milk us for every single dollar, because we'll buy all three separately leading up to Metroid Prime 4.
And let me just remind the community that I said that would happen many, many months ago, long before everybody else said that this would happen. I said, because it was brought up actually by an ex-director for Retro, I think it was, or an ex-employee or somebody who used to work there, that he didn't think that Trilogy would come to the Switch because of how much development effort that would need to be done. And you guys were all like, oh, what do you think, Tim? And I was like, well, that's because they're working on just redoing Prime. Just one game. So just a reminder, just a friendly reminder that,
is that in the Nintendo Dad's history books? Did you mark that down somewhere?
It is. I actually clipped it and everything.
Probably did.
And posted it on Twitter and everything, because everybody started coming out with, oh, they're working on Prime. And I said, I beat you all to this.
You were like, this tweet is going to age well.
So I looked at when Prime 4 was initially hinted with that one splash screen, and that was almost 5 years ago.
Yep.
E3 2017.
E3
2017?
Yes, it was the E3 of 2017.
That was the first E3 of the Switch?
Yes.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yep. That was crazy. So, Justin, I give you for that 8 points.
I also realized that I
happen.
just saw Jesse go and grab a pen and paper because I swore. Sorry, Jesse. People who are on Twitch and getting this live, you're welcome for all that.
All right. That's the end of, checking on the community, whether they agree with Justin's predictions or not for not E3, Nintendo's Direct. Let's move on to the events. All right. Real quick reminder. If you're here tonight, tomorrow night is the dinner table. If you're listening the day we drop this podcast, it is tonight. Every third Friday, we do the dinner table. We get everybody together to talk whatever we want to talk about in the community. So I know a lot of people are hungry to talk about the new Doctor Strange movie. So we're going to talk about that in the after dinner cocktail party. So in case anybody needs to drop off and not get spoiled on the Doctor Strange movie, they can. But for the main dish, we'll be talking about not E3 there as well. So we'll talk about what do we expect? What do we want? What are we hoping for? Do we have any predictions as well as a community? So we'll be talking about that kind of stuff. And then whatever else anybody else wants to talk about, because we just talk about things freely there. It's just a free for all. We have a lot of fun there. So again, dinner table is every third Friday of the month. You can join in if you're a Patreon or a Twitch subscriber. Again, like Justin said at the top of the show, don't forget about your Amazon Prime, because you can use that it's a freebie, and you can use that, give it to us, and then you can get into our Discord and come join us on our monthly dinner table, where you can join in the conversation and talk about everything from video games, movies, shows, card games, board games, dad life, parent life, whatever. We talk about all kinds of stuff, and it's very therapeutic, if you will. So next up, we got Nintendo of Europe game trial coming up. Our source is from My Nintendo News. Nintendo of Europe has announced that the next game trial for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers is Spelunky 2, which is pretty cool, I think, because I didn't buy it yet, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. I didn't buy it because I think it's a roguelite game.
It's a great game.
So I think it would be cool if it came over here, but maybe I'll just have to use my Europe account to try that out. So, but anyways, you can play the game with your Nintendo Switch Online membership.
Do you
starting
have NSO
from
on your Europe account?
I just read that and realized I don't have NSO over there. So,
well, if you have a family plan, you can add it.
All right. So,
what?
Okay. So if I have a family plan, I can add my Europe account to it. Okay.
Yeah, I have a family plan. I have all 4 of my regions on my family plan.
Nice.
In addition to my
Nice.
kids.
Jesse's international. He's like, I have a son over here, and that's a really smart idea, Jesse.
That is awesome. I didn't know that.
That's
I got to see if I
really-
have any slots open now for that. So
Also, Justin needs a moment.
I
because he blew his
realized
mind.
that when I tried doing, I think, Pac-Man 99 in Japan first, and I couldn't get on because it didn't have NSO. I'm like, well, I can fix that.
That's awesome. All right, you broke Justin. If you want to be one step ahead, you can download the game now so that it is ready to play the 25th of May. As with all game trials, once the play period is up, you can usually purchase the game at a special price. So, have we noticed if any of the things that happen in other regions make its way over to our region at all?
No, I mean, in terms of the...
Like if they do Spelunky 2 now in Europe, does it end up
I don't
being
think I've
in
ever seen a game
North
trial
America? Okay.
in multiple regions.
Not at the
There's
same
always-
time, but maybe at some point later on.
Not even different times. I
even?
don't think I've ever seen
Okay.
it duplicated.
All right.
I could be
Well-
wrong, but it's none that I remember.
So all of our across the pond friends over there, you got something to check out. And if you have multiple accounts like Jesse, there's another way to check out a game too. So
Spelunky 2 is great, by the way.
yes. All right. That's
Yeah,
our
if
events.
if I remember right, Dad's After Dark said, I wish I didn't play Spelunky 1 before playing Spelunky 2. I should have just
Yeah, I
liked
heard-
Spelunky 2.
Spelunky 2 is basically just remaking 1.
Yeah,
So-
it's the first game, but better.
Yes. Well, that's it for events. Jesse's PokéMinutes next.
Pika Pikachu!
I hate you all.
So Pokemon Home has been updated to 2.0. See here. I didn't write this in, so see. It adds support for Legends Arceus and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. By linking the games, you'll also net yourself some gift Pokemon. Linking Legends Arceus gets you Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott with full effort values, while in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it offers Piplup, Chimchar, and Turtwig with hidden abilities. Amazon Prime Gaming teams up with Niantic to give Prime subscribers free in-game items to Pokemon Go trainers every 2 weeks. Go to gaming.amazon.com/loot/Pokemon Go to get a code. Android users are able to enter the code directly into the game. iOS users will have to go into the Niantic website. The page gives you the link, so you don't have to find it in order to use the code. And I think that'll go through July. Other Pokemon Go news. Trainers are now able to gift event tickets to friends who are great friends, which is the second rank out of 4. So that includes like the Community Day ticket that's going on this weekend, and I think that also would include the Go Fest that's happening in a few weeks. Let's see, Pokemon Go Fest 2022 t-shirts went up for pre-order, and all sizes larger than large were sold out in less than 24 hours. I was not happy about that, because why, if you're to do a pre-order, just get as many pre-orders as you can, then that make that many shirts, but I guess not. But earlier today, they apparently restocked, and all the shirts were available except the one size I wanted. So I did eventually order the size smaller, and I'll just live with it. So, Niantic announced a few hours ago that they are going to make changes that they want to encourage people to go to do their raiding locally instead of remote. They will add new social features into the game to make it easier for trainers to communicate with each other, discover new communities, and enjoy local raid battles. I have no idea what that means. I guess we'll find out when they roll it out. Trainers taking part in local raid will get bonus Mega Energy and Rare Candy XL. Starting next week, the weekly 1-coin event box will no longer contain a remote raid pass. And they increased the price of 3 remote raid passes from 250 coins to 300 coins. For a limited time, you can buy 2 remote raid passes and a premium battle pass for 250. So when I saw this announcement on Twitter, my reply was in before the riot starts, because people aren't going to be happy. People liked the remote raid passes abilities, and they've been resistant on every effort of Niantic to reel that back.
Yeah, why can't they just keep both? Why can't they just do both? Have remote raids and then have social raids.
I don't know. We can't have nice things apparently. So, and then finally, May Community Day is this weekend, featuring Alolan Geodude on May 21st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. local time. If you evolve an Alolan Graveler into an Alolan Golem before 4 o'clock, it will know the fast attack rollout.
And that's our Jesse's PokéMinute. On to what we've been playing. And Nick, like we do every time we have a special guest, our special guests get to go first.
Well, thank you so much. I have been playing all kinds of things, dabbling here and there. I started playing Splatoon 2 with my son, but doing the single-player campaign. I don't know why I didn't do this a long time ago, because I'm not really into the online stuff all that much. But we've been having a lot of fun in the single-player campaign. So playing a little bit of that. Just kind of back and forth. It's not like 2 players. It just kind of, he'll do one level, I'll do the next.
So you're doing the Octo, the what's that called?
I don't
expansion?
think so. No,
Okay.
no, I don't think we've got there yet. I mean, I want to. We will. I'm pretty sure I have to download that, right? Like, I mean, I'd have to go online. I'd have to go on to the eShop and download the new one.
Yeah, and it's free now, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if you're got
free,
NSO,
it's free with expansion pack.
yeah, with the expansion. Yeah, so you go there to the eShop and there'll be, the download if you're part of the expansion pack. So
Yeah, so we'll be doing that too, but right now I think we're just going through the main one. The campaign. Yeah, the main one, exactly.
Okay.
That thing. I'm playing BOXBOY and BOXGIRL, which is funny. I was needed something to play with my mom, and I was like, we were going through the thing, going through the eShop, and I was like, how about this? And she was like, sure. And so we're playing that. That's a really fun puzzler game if you like this kind of environmental puzzlers. A lot of fun couch co-op-y type stuff there. Enjoying that immensely. And then I'm also playing, just finished Bugsnax. One of you on here said it was a fantastic game to play with your kids. I don't remember which one of y'all said that, but you did not make it to the end of Bugsnax, apparently. Because
No, I didn't.
No. In post, maybe we can talk about how dark Bugsnax gets at the very end.
We're about halfway through and my kids are having fun. Now I've also got a 14-year-old who's playing it with me.
Yeah.
There may be an age difference.
Yeah. So if you're old, like 14 is probably good. Like, yeah. But the end of that story goes south. So I'm gonna say. But it's a really good game. I had a ton of fun with it. It's quirky.
Kind of intrigued
the
now.
voiceover, the voiceover is great.
Oh, voiceover works amazing.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. Or I love it. I had a good time with it. Playing Eiyuden Chronicles Rising, action RPG. It just dropped on Game Pass last week. Little fetch questy for me. This coming from an Animal Crossing guy. I know seems weird, but man, I'm on so many side quests. They call them here. Have you ever had this happen before? They call them side quests, yet I have to do the side quest so that I can do the main quest. So is it really a side quest at that point? Like, the side quest is to open up the shop, but for me to move forward the main quest, I have to have that shop. So it's like, well, it's not really a side quest.
Yeah.
It's just like a quest that needs to be done. It's kind of funny,
right.
but I really like the combat. It's 2D. You have this really cool thing where people in your party, their attack becomes one of your buttons. So like Y, X, A, and so you just push that button, and you immediately swap that person, and they come in and do their attack, and then you can press in multiple chains to link attacks together. It's a fun combat style. And keeps it fresh. So I am enjoying that.
I didn't hear about this
go
one.
ahead.
Apparently, that also was out on Switch, and that released last week or earlier this week. Last week.
Yeah, last week. Last week it released. So it's the precursor to Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Years or something like that, which is coming out next year, and that's going to be a much larger turn-based RPG. This one's only about 10 hours. So if you're interested in it, it's not supposed to take too long to get through. So.
Yeah, it's only $15 so on Switch. So I might look into this one.
Yeah,
you said this one's on Game Pass?
Yes, it is on Game Pass. Yep.
I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah. I mean, you're an RPG fan. So the beginning of an RPG always like I have to just know what I'm getting into and get through it. There's like 2 hours of a lot of dialogue blocks, but that is not abnormal for the genre. I get it, but it's like,
for me, it's a battle system, whether I can live with it or not. I'm okay with
and
long stories. Persona 4, you play 2 hours of Persona 4, you might have one battle, at the start of the game.
It's a bit much. I'm not gonna lie. So, but once you get through those first 2 hours, I will say like it opens up, and you're not in those long dialogue blocks anymore.
That's a fifth of the game already.
That's true. Yeah, fair enough. Good point. But the last game I'll mention is Flat Squares. This is a Switch game that I've been playing. It's couch co-op up to 4 players. The reason I bring this game up, it's pretty simple. You're these little squares. You can move around, jump around, and you just have to last through the board. Basically, you got one screen. There might be lasers. There might be like blocks moving back and forth. The reason I mention this game is for dads who have kids that kind of get frustrated when they're like, I can't beat this or whatever. Only one of you have to make it through the screen. So it's really good when it's like, hey, the 4 of you can play. Maybe your kiddo goes out right away. That's okay. If dad makes it, y'all move on. We can all high five and say, look what we did,
What's the name of this
And so Flat Squares.
Flat Squares.
Flat Squares, yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Did I say it wrong?
I don't know. I'm not seeing it in the eShop.
Okay, I'll look. I thought that was it. I played it on a friend's Switch, so I want to make sure I get it right. But anyways, that's the last game, and it's Square something, so I'll look it up real quick. But that is what I've been playing. I've been having a lot of fun with those games. So.
And all your kids are playing that with you?
Actually, I played that with
or just your friends?
Yeah, it was a couple of friends. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Excellent. Justin, what you been up to?
So I have not been playing a ton of games. Kind of sometimes we go through weeks where we don't, right? But I will say I have been playing a game called Soundfall. This was part of the indie showcase last week, and this is described, and this is actually on the Nintendo eShop page. Soundfall is a fast-paced, music-based dungeon crawler that combines looter-shooter action with rhythm-based gameplay to create a world of music unlike any other. If the words music-based, dungeon crawler, looter-shooter, and rhythm are all a little bit too much for you, you ain't gonna like this. But I'm gonna tell you this right now. This game is a lot of fun. This game is a ton of fun. I saw this in the indie world, and that was like one of the biggest hopes. Yeah, I kind of thought that originally. I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'm going to give it a shot. And I am not a rhythm-based person, a game person. But this game, I have absolutely adored. There is a looter-shooter connection of it. There is. It's actually got 4-player local and online availability. There is tons of customization to your weapons. The music and the options that you have are a ton of fun. The level designs are really cool. It's a really fun game. And unfortunately, I think that there's so much in the PR word salad at the beginning of it that you're like, oh, I'm not into looter shooters. Oh, I'm not into dungeon crawlers. Oh, I'm not into rhythm based. That you kind of piece yourself out of it. I'm not into.
What kind of Venn diagram would require someone to like all of those?
Well, that's the thing is I do not like rhythm games. Like Cadence of Hyrule, I loved the idea of it, and I was horrible at that game and frustrated me. So I was like, this is what's going to happen in this game. And that's not what happened at all. Do not sleep on this. I think you should really try. And if you're questioning it, go over to our YouTube channel. I have got a video up there. You can take a look at it there. A couple other quick things I've been playing. Fortnite got level 100. So I got my Doctor Strange skin. So I'm happy there. The other part of it, Apex Legends Mobile hit on Tuesday. So you can now play Apex Legends Mobile on your iPhone or Android device. And I have been using my Backbone controller for it. And it works perfectly. Other than I shouldn't say perfectly. I'll say that when you're playing the game, it works really well. But when you're in the menu screens and some of the things you still have to touch, but once you're in the game, it's a ton of fun. I've gotten, of the 4 games I've played, we've become Apex champions all 4 times. That doesn't seem right. I'm pretty sure the lobbies are full of bots right now because there's no way I'm that good at it on the mobile. But it is a ton of fun. If you are, again, an Apex Legends fan, check it out. And I think you should try it. So those are the games that I have been playing. And I've been playing a little bit of a Nintendo Switch Sports with the kiddo. And we like that. We like bowling. That's fun, right?
Question on the Apex Legends mobile.
Yep.
Is that cross-platform? Or is it just mobile? You're playing just other mobile people?
Just mobile.
Or even
so that could also be why I'm doing okay right now.
Okay.
There's no mobile and Switch. It's just mobile.
Okay.
Yeah, plus you're probably playing bots then, since it's basically a new character.
Yeah. So right now I'm feeling really good in there, and you're like, oh man, I'm doing great, and I'm getting all these like, oh, because you did so great, you finished all these objectives, and ding, 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 look at all the things you're getting. You're like, ah, and I'm like,
dopamine.
There is no way. There's no way.
They want you there's the buy-in, right?
But I will say, this may sound crazy, but it plays almost better than the Switch version. And graphically kind of looks a little bit better.
How dare you, sir? How dare you say those things? No.
Yeah, I'm a monster. I'm an absolute monster. The other game I do want to mention. I'm sorry, I apologize. My brain's going all over the place. Arise, a simple story, definitive edition. I put it on our YouTube channel. Take a look at it. Nick, you asked me about this game.
Yeah, I want to know about the co-op.
I didn't play the co-op, so I'm no good to you. I'm dead to you. I'm sorry. This is such an art game and is such a beautiful game. From the 30 minutes I played of it, just the level design, how they've laid out you're sitting on the couch, just want something chill. Maybe before you go to bed, something super chill. You want something that has a story. It's about 5 hours long. This is a pretty cool game. And you can use time. So you basically roll time forwards or backwards to move things. So whether you roll it forward and if the sun is out, the snow melts. And so the snow melts, the water rises. And if so it's a very cool game to check out. I like these kind of artsy, sometimes kind of just like it's not a shooter. I'm not trying to kill anything, but it's rather the journey and the story that's being told. And it's really beautiful. There's some challenges when it loads. I think I'm like, did the game just freeze? I'm hoping that there may be a patch to smooth that out. But other than that, it's absolutely cool to play.
That's how I felt about the was it the far changing tides? Changing I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think if you're into that, Tim, you might be into this. Check out Arise.
Okay. Yeah, I was eyeballing it when it came out. And but I got things I got to finish.
And you play it and then tell me if it has as vague of a story as Far Changing Tides. No, that's all I need to know. Also, by the way,
you like Changing Tides. I thought you liked Changing Tides.
I did because
not Lone Sails, but Changing Tides.
Well, you got to play them both. The one wraps everything in a nice tidy bow, and you figure it out, and it's great. And so, but you got to play them both, man. You just do. By the way, Flat Heroes was the game, not Flat Squares. You're freaking square, so I just thought it was Flat Squares, okay? But it's Flat Heroes. So there you go.
All right.
Thank you.
Jesse, what you been playing?
All right, so I'll start off with Mario Golf on the N64 NSL expansion pack as part of the monthly Mayhem golf tournament. I guess it's not monthly Mayhem, but it's a golf tournament too. After 4 rounds of just solo play to give us a ranking, they put us into a bracket. I was up against Hambone Johnny, and I had a 7-stroke handicap. And we found out really easy that lag is going to be an issue with this game. And I think they're going to go to people just doing solo play and submitting their scores instead of onlining up. But we onlined it up anyway. And I ended up like something like 30 strokes behind. So yeah, I lost, and I think that game was frustrating me. So I'm glad I can say I'll never launch that game again.
Bob Cousy and I played as well and had a similar issue. I was literally like, when my putt was 3 feet from the hole, I was literally like Mario partying the button because it wouldn't register my button presses in time. And there is no like, you're 3 feet from the hole, tap it in like there is in the current Mario Golf. So you have to get it in that small little spot. And I missed 3 putts that were 3 feet away because I hit it too hard.
Well, I found in that game, if you're playing on say a Pro Controller instead of handheld, there's lag and just a few frames of lag and just that, and that's enough to mess up a hole. But then add the network latency. And then I think Johnny even said that he had TV latency just through his older HDMI TV. So he had 3 types of lag stacked on top of each other, and he still got 600 bar. So I don't know.
Way to go, Hambone.
Yeah, that game's nuts. So, Final Fantasy II Pixel Remaster. While I was out of town, I did finish it. What I thought my problem was back when I played it on GBA was I needed to increase my defense. I did, and it really didn't do anything. I don't think if I tried that same approach, I think I would have ended up in the same infinite loop. But the difference was this time was there was a sword I picked up called the Blood Sword, and it advertises itself as attack 0. So my thought was with GBA, oh, this is garbage. Let's just sell it off and get rid of it. But that's like the easy button to win the game. Because while the base damage is just based on the user's strength, it's got an effect that isn't very clear about what it does, but it does additional damage based on a fraction of the opponent's total hit points. And that's a drain attack. So I heal all the damage that I give out. So when I got to the final boss, I tried the normal strategy, and he's dual wielding swords. One sword does between 400 and 600. The second one does between 4 and 6. Single digits. And so I did that for 2 rounds while the other characters buffed and debuffed. So then I swapped out that sword that did 4 damage with the blood sword. Sword 1 still did about 400. Sword 2, 9999.
Wow. Critical.
That wasn't critical. That was
wasn't?
just,
okay.
It's a fraction of his total hit points.
Wow.
And then round 4 was the kill shot with like 2500.
See, that's the kind of stuff I love finding, and that's what gets me in trouble in RPG games like that, where I want to find that. So I'm looking everywhere or trying to discover things or whatever. If I don't have a guide or something to tell me.
Apparently, older version of the games actually have 2 blood swords in it, so you can dual wield them. The downside is if you use it against an undead, you will take damage and heal the undead.
Oh, wow.
So you have to be careful about making sure you use it only against live enemies. Okay, so
Nice.
So I did that while I was out of town, and I started Final Fantasy III Pixel Remaster. And the reason why I never got far in this game was on the DS version, was there's that dungeon where you have to go in mini, which means you have no attack, no defense, and you have to rely on magic. So I don't know if I didn't job swap and just relied on the original setup, but you have to job swap. There's no way around it. So after doing that and buying more spells for everybody, I did get past that dungeon. Then I respect back to the original jobs, and now I'm in a city of frogs. And of course, I just recently got the toad spell. So the next thing I have to do is I have to turn my whole party into toads, so then I can talk to the frogs.
Nice.
And then to figure out what I need to do next. So this is still relatively early in the game, maybe 4 or 5 hours in. But I'm like, is this what this game's going to have me do the entire time? So I don't know if I'm going to finish this one, but I am still putting along with it. I am looking forward to playing 4 because that was, what's my second favorite Final Fantasy game. And apparently, my son decided he wanted to play 4. He tried because we have our Steam accounts set up as family share, so he can play any game I have in my library, or so I thought. Apparently, Square blocks family sharing of these pixel remasters, so he had to buy his own copy of 4, and he's put a few hours into it, but he's liking that. Reminded me when he was a kid, he tried playing my DS copy of 4 and goes, I don't know what I need to do. Well, I'm like, well, are you reading the text? No. Well, there you go.
That's Sammy right now.
So this time, I don't remember how old he was then, but he's 21 now. He's able to read it.
He's reading.
And he's knowing what he's doing. Amazing what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Then this game came out today for 99 cents. A Rusty Sword Vanguard Island. The description on the eShop page is a very short adventure that should remind you of other favorite games past or something along those lines. It's a Zelda clone. And when they say it's very short, it's very short. Again, they're only charging 99 cents here. It's one overworld and one dungeon. Once you finish it, you're done. It looks like so I did it in like a half an hour. But, if the inventory speed, there's a lot of space for inventory and other things. Like this is a proof of concept for what will be a larger game. But they just released it as a 99-cent chunk. But, if you have a Zelda itch, this may help. You start out with 16 hearts right off the bat, and there are no sword upgrades, and all the enemies are derived from a Zelda enemies. So the original NES, the dungeon has that over the top camera look.
Okay.
Yeah, and
it's an 8-bit type game.
It's
8-bit style.
I'd say 16-bit style.
Okay.
But like if you ever seen like Zelda BS version or the broadcast satellite system version.
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
It's a remake of the Zelda 1 in 16-bit. That's kind of what this looks like too.
Gotcha.
Also, if you have a Zelda itch, consult your doctor, get checked out as soon as possible.
Yes. You may need a cream for that.
And then also released today, which I haven't played yet, but I'll probably play in live stream this weekend, is a regular factory escape room. I think it's the 4th escape room from these developers. And
okay.
I like to live stream these, and it normally takes me like 3 or 4 hours to play through it. So
nice.
Probably if I have the time this weekend, I'll plan on doing that as a live stream.
Nice. Well, I guess it's my turn, and I only have one game that I've been playing since it released last week, and that's Mini Motorways. I did an interview with the developers last year at Gamescom, and got to play the demo on Steam, and it wasn't out on Switch yet, but they were talking about that it was going to be coming to the Switch in 2022. So that's why I went on and played it, tried it out on Steam and PC, for the PC, and then did the interview. And we have a video out on that. And when they announced that it was coming to the Switch at the showcase, finally, that's when I reached out and said, "Hey, you remember me? I did the interview. Can I get a Switch code?" And they were happy to give us one. So I'm always thankful when we get one of those from them. So I got it for the Switch and been playing that. Instead of doing, obviously I didn't want to do a first look since I kind of did that already with the Steam version. So I wanted to play the Switch version, get a feel for how that plays versus how you would play it on mobile, which Justin, you said you've been playing it on mobile.
Yep.
And then also versus the way I've been playing it on Steam. In fact, I think I played. Well, you can play Mini Metro, the subway version, on any of those systems as well. And I played Mini Metro and I enjoyed that. But for some reason, I like Mini Motorways because this is basically cars that you're directing to go from their garage to a factory or a tower, or a combination of the two in some cases. So, and you get road tiles, bridges, roundabouts, traffic lights, and highways or motorways to build basically a way for these cars to get from point A to point B and collect people, pick up people, or pick up their, I'm guessing people at these locations and bring them back home. And so the object is to keep traffic flowing and not let the people build up in those locations, such as the factory or the building. So with that, there's other things too, other than just doing that. You get real life locations, although it's randomly generated. The different things that happen in those locations, like Tokyo is one place. So although you're doing Tokyo, it doesn't necessarily look like Tokyo because the river one time that you're playing may be over here on the right side of the screen. And then the next time you go to play that same board, it may end up on the left side of the screen. So it randomly generates and basically builds up from, you get one color of I'll just say vehicles. Or the house and the industry or the factory that you have to go pick up people from. Like you start off with red. So the house will be red and the industry will be red. And you drive off and go get the person you got to pick up and bring them back home. And then after a couple weeks in the game, because it's on a timer, after a week or two, you get another color added. So you could have red and then you could have yellow. And then the idea originally I thought was, because I'm a SimCity fan, was to, you get your parts that you get every week, you get more and more parts that you can add. So like I said, the road tiles, the bridges and all that kind of stuff. Every week you get more parts and then you build your city, basically your roadways. And the object again is to avoid traffic buildups and to avoid getting more people at one location. So the reason why I liked it was because it was kind of like Zen in a way, like SimCity was for me when I played that on the SNES, where I just kind of build things, make it look pretty in a way.
It's Zen until it's not. Because it does gets crazy and stuff like that. And one of the strategies I learned was actually you want to avoid crossing roads or tiles or whatever with the different colors, so there's no traffic jams. So you kind of build around each other in a way, or around each of the colors. And you also, there's some strategy on taking up spaces with some of your road tiles as well. So so that nothing pops up in those spaces that you don't want them to. Like if you don't want to build a bridge yet, you want to take up some space over on that island across the river, so nothing populates there and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff I'm saying is actually in a video I just dropped today on Mini Motorways. This is all the stuff I've learned over time playing this game, all the strategies. I did a quick video of me playing it in handheld, actually. I didn't do a screen capture of it. I did handheld video of me playing it so I could show that you can play both touchscreen and with the Joy-Cons. And it flip-flops between the two very seamlessly, so I can use the touchscreen when I want to or use the Joy-Cons. And Joy-Cons are okay. It's basically you're using the Joy-Con as a mouse essentially, and with the joystick and moving the cursor around, so you could be moving kind of slow across the screen from one side of the map to the other, kind of like how the escape room games work.
Yeah. So that's why it's good to be. I like playing in handheld. For me, it's my game I play when I go to bed. So I bring the Switch in there and I'm, playing that game. So I highly recommend it, especially if you're a SimCity fan, or even with the mini Metro game. If you enjoyed that, I like mini Motorways better for some reason than the mini Metro. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's just, maybe they did something different or whatever, but I enjoyed this better.
I remember playing Mini Metro on Steam when it was new, and I just got frustrated really quick and never touched it again.
Yeah, and I could see why it gets frustrated, and that's why it's like when I started researching strategies, that's what helped me not get so frustrated. Because it's basically just starting your what do they call it, a strategy sim, urban planner. So you're managing basically the traffic.
There's a mouthful, hey?
Yeah. So, but the fun part was going out and learning more strategies. And trying to apply those strategies, and now I'm trying to get those high scores. Speaking of high scores, real quick, I know I've dragged this one out, but it was my one game. So, but they do have daily tasks and weekly tasks. So you're not just, you can go in, you can just play the maps, and then you can also play a daily map and a weekly map. And in those, they give you tasks, or not necessarily tasks, but there's certain things that they either take away from you or give you. Like one challenge is basically you go in and you get no roundabouts and unlimited bridges. So maybe that might be one of the challenges that you can do for the week or the daily. So I tried the daily, and with the new strategies I learned, and I did okay. But again, I'm still learning, and there's some things I need to learn in regards to clusters. When you get certain houses in a cluster, and then it becomes a traffic jam. So lots of fun for me, at least, and I highly recommend it if you're into those type of games.
But is there an Ouroboros?
Not yet, not that I've encountered yet, but that'd be pretty cool.
Is there is there an objective or an end, or are you just going until it gets too crazy and everything falls apart? Like, what's
the objective is to try to get a high score. It's a high score game, and you can do a high score against the globe, against your friends who are playing. So you can see lists like that. Like the one I did for, I want to say it's Berlin, but I could be wrong. I got a high score, and it said I was in the top 4% that got, in that high score. Even though I'm still far away from number one. So, right. But it was really cool because Benji was on there from the guys Sales? Over. No, not Sales. The Benji Kong from the guys over across the pond. In their show, the Cross Players.
Yeah,
the Cross Players. So he was playing it, and I saw his scores too. So, and the other thing too, when I was mentioning about the daily and weekly, each of those maps you can play separately as well. Like I said, the Berlin one and the Tokyo one has challenges. When you when you get to a certain score, it will unlock challenges that you can go back into that same map and try to beat those challenges. So there's a lot of replay there. There's a lot of maps I still have to unlock that I haven't even gotten to yet. But I've only been playing a week, and again, I still am trying to beat Breath of the Wild, but I haven't played all this week because I've been playing mini Motorways. So it's okay, Zelda. Zelda will be fine. Everybody, she'll be fine. She's been waiting 100 years. She can wait another year. So
another year.
Oh my goodness! No.
Make her wait a whole year.
Okay. I'll say another month.
105 years now.
No, my goal is to finish Breath of the Wild before Live drops in July. So, because I want to play that. That's going to be my next big one. That takes 5 years to play.
I like it.
That's what I've been playing. So let's move on to the community spotlight.
Do it.
So, Nick, usually what we do here is we, again, allow our guests to spotlight themselves in this section. But I want to say real quick, before you spotlight Game Pass news, What I usually do at this point, if we don't have a guest, is talk about our NINDADS family podcast, which the Game Pass News is a part of. And recently you guys dropped episode 53, which was called What the Puck, which I like the name of.
Right.
And I know you guys just recorded last night, episode 54. But in 53, in What the Puck, you guys talk about Bethesda delays, Starfield and Redfall, which we talked about earlier. Fortnite is free on xCloud, which we also talked about here. Xbox network goes down, which we talked about here as well. But you guys didn't hear Sean's side of things. So go there and listen to that episode so you can hear that. And then 54 will be dropping soon. But before I go any further with any of the other Nintendo Dads family podcasts, Nick, how can people find you and Sean and the Game Pass News channel?
Yeah, so you can find us on Game Pass News, on Twitch, on Twitter. Those are our two main areas. You can hop on over to the Nintendo Dads Discord. We have a bunch of channels here. We have going right now. We have a Bugsnax achievement hunter. So it's kind of like the Xbox version of what the Dads After Dark guys do with Monthly Mayhem, where you just give us your achievement score. And every 5 achievement points you gets you one entry to win possibly a $15 Xbox card. We already had our 100% submit, so we are also handing out a pin to the first person who submits 100% achievement score. So that has already been done. So we'll be sending out that pin to that person here shortly. So if you're interested in that, I've been played Bugsnax. It doesn't matter if it was in the last month while it was on Game Pass or we've been dropped earlier on Xbox. You can give us that score whenever. And that ends on the 31st. But Sean and I just chat about Xbox and Game Pass stuff. That's really what we do, and we try to keep you up to date on Game Pass news. Just dropped a new season. We have a really fun way of we preview trailers together on Twitch. So we're not just chatting about these games. You're viewing it with us, and we're all kind of live reacting to these trailers. So enjoy that. Sean wanted to be here. I know I sent out a tweet saying we would both be here. Sean really wanted to be here. He had some kiddo problems, so he couldn't make it. He was pretty bummed about that, but hopefully we can both be on here at some point. So.
Yes, and you guys are, like I said before, always welcome to come on. So we'll get you both on and talk some more Xbox. I'm sure Justin will have all kinds of questions for you guys.
That sounds about right.
Yep. And that's one of the things I really like too. And by the way, like Justin was saying earlier, your guys' new logo and everything is really awesome. I love the stuff you guys are doing with your second season and the changes you guys made in the show too, especially the Game Pass trailer reviews that you guys do. So that was fun to watch yesterday.
And yeah, we're having a lot of fun, and thank you to you guys. A lot of that stuff, I don't know how much you guys know or how much you guys want people to know, but a lot of that stuff wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the support that you guys give us. So we thank you guys a ton for that support, both as channels on the Discord, the ability to be able to make these changes. So we really appreciate you guys, the opportunity to come on a show like this and just helping us grow as we go. I mean, we were just talking about the Jesse class for audio. I wouldn't be able to do the stuff I do on OBS if it wasn't for Jesse literally teaching, like no joke, teaching me about how to run a mixer and what I had to download and virtual cables and blah 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 blah. So
yep,
I'm
signing up for that next class. So
there you go.
Right. It's and I thank you, Nick, for that. That's fantastic. I think we're so proud. We're so proud of the work that you guys are doing over there. It's amazing. We love every time that the community spins up something amazing, which is what you guys have done. And I think this is just a great example of why the support from Patreon and stuff like that really helps us to be able to support these projects. And so yeah, thank you to everyone who supports us, ends up supporting you through that.
Sure.
Well. So thank you.
Yep.
Exactly. So, and speaking of which, if you want to know all the different things that the Game Pass is at as well, how to get a hold of them or what social medias they're on, you can also go to the Linktree site. So linktr.ee/Game Pass News, and you can see all the different places they're at and keep an eye on that in case they grow anywhere else. So
that's right. Yeah.
And of course, you guys are on YouTube as well. So
yep,
all cool places. So, and like I said, you guys are part of the family, the NINDADS family of podcasts, which also includes Dad After Dark Show, which they recently dropped their special An Indie World to Love or Hate episode, where they talk about the Indie World Showcase. It was an indie world that John loved, and we all know Drew didn't like it because they were on our show last week. So what games are on their radar now from that? And of course, you can listen to their podcasts by going to Anchor. That's where there is. Of course, you can download it from any of their podcast services, but they're on Anchor as well. And also Retro Logic, which also includes not just Retro Logic, but On Topic and Retro Groove. So all those episodes are there. You can find all their episodes at retrologic.games, where they recently dropped episode 79 for Retro Logic, still talking about NES. Bonus one episode of On Topic Modern. So they talk about modern games there too. It was their discussion on Ghost of Tsushima, which is a good one if you're a fan of that game or thinking about playing that game. Well, especially with the PlayStation Plus coming up with that game, the Director's Cup coming in there. Go check out that episode. So, and then Retro Groove, which is another good part of their family podcast that talks about music and stuff. So episode 23, Retro Groove, they talk about Expanding Mind, Porter Robinson, and the emotion of EDM. So that's one I'm going to actually have to check out because I'm a fan of EDM stuff. All right. So moving on from the family of podcasts onto the questions from the community. We got one from, I think it was late last week that we got it from Mecha Dragon during the show, actually, and we just couldn't get it in. But he sent an email saying a common complaint from people over Nintendo Switch Online is that they don't need the games that they offer because they already have those games ready, available somewhere in their homes. But I'm not sure if these people realize how annoying it is to connect a retro console on TVs nowadays, especially ones with just HDMI ports. That's a huge reason why I'm a big fan of companies like Retrobit or Hyperkin, because their clone consoles, despite them being a bit finicky, are perfect entry points for anyone who wants to play their old games again or get kids into the retro gaming as well. I love the fact that we have a lot of classic video games at a moment's notice. And while I still prefer just buying them up front like we used to be able to in the virtual console, I still think it's important for companies to keep porting their old games as much as they can. Question for the dads. Do you value the convenience of playing retro games on current consoles?
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
Well,
Yes,
definitely
yes, I do. I love the fact that I can jump in and play Super Metroid on my Nintendo Switch. Like, yes, all those things wherever I go. Like that's
Well, for content creators, it makes it easier to, stream and record footage as opposed to trying to do it off of a stock SNES.
Yes.
Yeah, there are ways to do it, but they're not as elegant.
Right. And you don't have to carry multiple things around if you're traveling, if you want to play the classics on something else.
Rule of thumb for the internet. If we ever get get stuff, we'll always complain about something else.
Yes.
Well,
see, like this, like the classic. Here's an example. We got this SNES Classic, right? Awesome. Except I complained that I didn't get SimCity on it. So unless I hack it. So so yeah.
We all want these things. We're all angry when we don't have them. And then when we show up, and when they do show up or we get them, we get upset because they don't have exactly what we want, but we're ignoring the fact that the other like 95% of it is exactly what we want it to be.
Yeah.
So it's because we're kind of greedy.
Amen. I'm down with that. I love it. I think the virtual console, or the NSO, is a great deal. I love it that I get to show games to Noah, my son, and my daughter that I wouldn't otherwise. We went through Banjo-Kazooie together. I still hate N64 every time I play one of their games, but I still do it because I just do. We've gone through the Marios. I think it was a couple of years ago. I went through all the 2D Marios with them, and we have. I mean, it's great.
Nice.
Well, on the other side, if someone does have the game with a legacy system with a way to hook it up to ACTV, then getting the same game on the Switch doesn't make as much sense. But you are the exception, not the rule.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if you have a legacy like CRT like I have, and the host of NVC has been spouting about for the last month. Like he apparently has a collection now of CRTs.
Yeah,
So,
Seth.
yeah, Seth. So like, one behind me I haven't used in probably 3 years. It's still there if I ever want to use it again.
Yeah. Yep. And I like collections too that give me the opportunity. Like the recent one that I bought but I haven't played yet was the Castlevania Advance collection. Because I really liked the Game Boy Advance Castlevania games. So I picked that one up. So
The GBA games, just like N64 games, kind of look like garbage on big screen TVs. It is not designed to be played on the screen that big.
Right. Well,
But
and I
still,
have a
played
couple
on
of
handheld. It looks great.
I have a couple of those games still, or no, I take that back. I have one of those games for the GBA still. So, but I still picked up the advanced one, obviously, because I didn't have the other ones. But I'd rather play it on my Switch because it's there. So it's more convenience, I suppose. So even though I have a GBA that I could play one of those games on. So great question as usual, Mecca. That was and I like the explanation you had with that. That was pretty cool. On to some questions from our Discord. Again, Mecca, he had one that was not necessarily meant for this, but I thought I'd bring it here. He asked, how hip is Marty?
And my response in the Discord was, the older you are, the easier it is to break.
Yes.
2 hips. He's got 2 hips.
Yep.
Yes. And I forget what Marty said too. Did you, Jesse, you remember what Marty said?
I don't.
I don't remember what he
He
said.
gave like a gif of some old guy trying to keep up in a
Oh,
car.
yeah, that's right.
I think that was about all he said.
I forgot about that. All right. Chris also asked in our Discord, with revealing he wasn't at 100% during last week's episode, my question for the dads is, when was the last episode that you appeared on that you weren't at your best? He's speaking of Drew, by the way, who we found out afterwards that he tried to bail as quickly as possible from our show, not because he was tired, but because he was actually getting sick. So that's where this question is derived from. So his question is, when was the last episode that you appeared on that you weren't at your best? And he also asked, would they be able to tell you weren't at your best?
I'm sure.
Well, I can.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I can start. It was late last year. I swore I had COVID, but I did not. I took tests, but I had some nasty sinus stuff going on. And Jesse can understand. I thought I did the right thing by muting Zoom. So like I shut off my video, I muted Zoom, but because I'm in this mixer thingy-majigger, Zoom was not the problem. My mic picks up to the mixer and goes straight to OBS for all of the listeners and everything. So I do all this. I grab the Kleenex and I'm like doing all this nasty stuff. And my friend's like, hey man, we heard all of that. Just so you know, he's a friend of mine locally that like listens to our streams quite often. And I was like, what? I muted Zoom. And I'm like, oh. So Sean couldn't hear me, but all of our listeners could. So they all knew because I messed up on the audio.
Yeah, if I feel like I'm going to sneeze or cough, I mute myself within voice meter. That's what I should have done. It will kill everything.
Yep, that's what I should have done. So everybody got my good nose blow right on stream.
Justin, you got one?
I think, to be honest, I think we're in a situation because we have such a big cast of hosts that if we're ever not feeling well, we'll just call it, right? And we'll be like, yeah,
Do you remember towards the beginning though? Like, did you try? Because I think the first few years, you're just like, we got to be here every day.
Yeah, we would just kind of fight through it a little. I think we would just fight through it, to be honest, right? Yeah. I think that was more it than anything else. I think that's. I think sometimes we think of illness typically, like when we think of like not feeling well. I think sometimes we'd also be like, I just, had to put down the kids and they were an argument and the dog's not feeling well and I just got a spill on my shirt. And then you're like, okay, now I'm going to come to the podcast and you're just punchy. Right. So you're just, and so I think, it's kind of funny, and a little bit behind the curtain. Sometimes like when we do pre-show, like, one of us will be a bit punchy Marty, right? And so sometimes that happens. And so you kind of get to kind of shake it off beforehand, or you get to have a bit of fun with it. But there's definitely those times where you kind of show up and you're like, I mean, it's kind of like and not to be rude, it's kind of like a job sometimes. You show up and you're like, oh, I could really be using some sleep, but we're going to power through. But you find your way.
Yeah, I know there was times before where I kind of like doze off whilst other people are talking. The audio isn't going to notice, but if you're watching them and me on YouTube, you'll see.
Yeah. The episodes where Jesse dozes off are some of my favorite episodes to watch. Yeah.
I think it is true too, especially when you do sit right. Like there have been times where I'm trying to feed the kids, my wife's not home just yet. I hop on, I'm like getting everything around. I'm like, okay, Sean, I'm ready to go. Boom, I hit the button. I'm like, crap, it opens up, and I'm like, I didn't think about an opener at all. Okay, let's just go. Welcome to Game Pass News, and it's just kind of like you can tell the times when I'm like, I'm just gonna try to make this up as this goes on, because you had a crazy day and you just sat down in the seat and hit record. And it was like, oops.
Yeah, I can't think of any specific thing for me. I'm sure there's been times I know there's been times where I've had a massive headache and did the show, and that can be distracting in itself. But it helps take my mind off the headache, believe it or not, too, when I'm talking about other things and we're just getting into the show and, focusing on questions or trying to listen and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't think of anything specific though. But I agree with Justin though, is like, you can tell when somebody's in a mood.
Yeah. and sometimes it's character.
Yeah, true.
Right. I think, again, we're pulling the curtain back a little bit here. Like, I don't mind occasionally being the villain, right? And kind of being a little bit of a messer. Because I've said this many times. I believe that if we're all like, this is a fantastic idea and we agree upon it, that is the worst show ever. Right. So let's have some discourse. Let's you think Xbox is amazing, Nick? I am going to tell you you're a dirty liar and that it should be burnt to the ground. Let's go. Right. Because that's an interesting show. That's an interesting piece of content. And so I think so sometimes it's just, it can come off that way. And I know that I can definitely come off as a bit punchy on the show sometimes.
We all have. We all had our moments. I know that for sure. So even as a listener, especially when Zach was on.
Yeah, I get a little punchy at Zach every once in a while.
Yeah.
Sure.
So great question, Chris. Mecca has a question for Business Justin, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Should we be concerned about Saudi Arabia buying 5% of Nintendo?
That's a great question, Mecca. So I will say that there is some complexity in that question. So should we be concerned? I mean, they're owning 5.01% of Nintendo at this point. It's a big enough chunk, but I would also tell you that just as an FYI, Saudi Arabia has also vested in other video game companies over the last little bit, Activision, EA. So it's not uncommon for them. They're really diversifying their.
They own 96% of SNK now.
Yeah, they own a ton of SNK. They're really what they're doing is they are diversifying kind of what their kind of funds are invested in, right? So that's not uncommon for countries or businesses or individuals to do that at all. So I don't think we should be overly concerned. They've also invested in Hollywood stuff as well. I think I would just be more concerned about just the humanitarian crisis that happens in Saudi Arabia. Maybe the thing I'd be more concerned about in regards to it. I'm going to be very honest with you. Head over to Kotaku. They just did a great article on basically the Saudi Arabia situation. And it was kind of not really that we should be worried about that, but more the kind of the genocide and stuff that's happened there. That's more the thing that we should be concerned about. But this is just part of a country's, the capital, the money they have, diversifying in risk and finding different things to invest in as well.
Yeah, I don't think they're using their partial ownership of companies to throw their weight around saying, hey, don't do this, or hey, do this instead.
Correct.
Like some, Tencent would do.
Yeah.
And as long as they don't, I think we're going to be, it's going to be business as usual. Anyone could have bought 5% of the stock. It was out there available to buy. you just need someone with enough money, or enough of many peoples with all the money combined to make that purchase.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to say Nintendo Dad's community. That could have been us, right? We could have done better. All right, Patreon, increase your levels. We could have owned 5% of Nintendo.
Could have pulled our money together. Yeah. Bought a share. Okay, maybe 3 shares. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyways, all right. So that was our questions from Discord. Our last question of the night comes in Twitter from Marty. Does bowling on Nintendo Switch Sports count as an exercise? Asking for a friend.
Only hip fellas. Only for hip fellas.
That's right.
Well, before we leave, I did want to mention, point this out, because Justin wasn't on last week. I saw this was all just struck out of the notes, but I forget the date. But coming up soon, Nintendo stock is going to have a 10-to-1 split.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. Drew wanted to talk about the stock stuff with you, with Business Justin, but you weren't able to come on, and he wouldn't have been able to focus on it anyways the way he was feeling. So it worked out, I think.
So in knowing I wasn't going to be around, I would say, hey, Justin could probably explain what that means and why it is or isn't a good thing in his opinion. But I don't know if he still wants to do that. I can kind of speak my piece now that I'm here this week.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you?
Basically, what the 10-to-1 split means is, say, using this as an example, I own 100 shares that cost $1,000 each. So what a 10-to-1 split means is, I will get 10 times as many shares, and each share will be worth 1/10 of the amount. So ultimately, my net value is unchanged. But instead of having 100 shares at 1,000, I now have 1,000 shares that are 100. Why is this a good thing? I can sell them off in smaller increments, or as a new buyer, you can buy them in smaller increments. You don't have to worry about having $N,000 to do your investment. Now you can do it in your $100 investment.
Yeah, this typically happens when a stock price gets kind of really quite high and a little bit unapproachable for individuals. Apple has been known to do this several times, actually, where they make that stock split as well. And it's really about kind of getting more people into the market. The value doesn't really change so much, but it's the accessibility to the stock, which allows for kind of more individuals to be in as well. So
it'll split on September 30th. So the first day of the updated price will be October 1st.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out what the current prices are.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that information, because stocks is not my thing. I
don't want the ADR,
I know little bits and pieces.
The price.
I'm with you, Tim.
Not enough.
I didn't know what a 10-to-1 split was.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that, guys.
Has Nintendo ever done this before? Do we know?
I don't know off the top of my head. That doesn't mean
I just wonder.
But I know off the top that I can remember.
So basically, if they're splitting, that means they're doing good. I mean, because their stock price is high enough to yeah.
Typically it can. So it can.
Which, I mean, obviously we all know they're doing.
Yeah, they're doing all right. They're doing all right.
Yeah.
They seem to be okay.
Yeah,
all right. Any final?
Looking at the stock for the past year, it peaked almost a year ago. It get another peak in March, and it went down a little bit. So it's still up there. The last close was a little over 59,000 yen, which is probably like $450.
Yeah, per stock. That's pretty steep to jump in
per share.
I'm out.
Right?
I'm out on that.
Yeah.
We're waiting for September 30th. That's
what
we're
$463 a share.
Yeah, so you should be accessibly able to get around 50 or at a $50 price. It's a little bit more reasonable, give or take, right?
There you go.
I don't know if I don't think that'll affect, I think Drew as well, but I own Nintendo stock through a fund that we own. It's a US fund that part of its holdings is Nintendo stock from Japan. Yep. So, how, their stock goes up, our fund goes up and whatever. So because of the net zero, I don't think our U.S. fund is doing anything. It'll just be business as usual.
Yeah, and I will just say this: Nintendo Dads is not financial advisors. We do not hold any legal responsibilities if you choose to invest in any stocks that we've mentioned here, including Nintendo. Please see a financial advisor for your best options.
Or DM business, Justin.
Do not DM
No.
business, Justin. I am not responsible for your financial future.
What should I buy,
Yeah.
Justin? No, I'm kidding.
Well, when I did my taxes this last year, you can tell that I didn't make the best choices when I tried to buy a little AMC and a little GameStop, and then sold it and at a loss.
Yep. All right. So you can DM Nick about cryptocurrency and NFTs. You can get a hold of him, and
You can. You won't get diddly squat, but you can DM me.
So, all right, Nick, thanks a lot for joining us. And as usual, we look forward to you coming on again with Sean and talking more Xbox stuff and Nintendo stuff, of course. And who knows,
And
maybe after
Nick, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You guys are doing a live event, right? For Xbox
For the showcase.
Yeah, for the
That's
showcase, right?
Yeah, we are doing a live event on I don't know, the 13th, I think. June 13th coming up. 12th, sure. Yep. We're gonna be there someday. There might be a show going on. There might not. No.
Sunday the 12th at noon Central.
Yeah,
we are on it, guys. Way to go.
We definitely need to have you guys on after that to see what kind of things might have dropped between Nintendo, Xbox, and even PlayStation, and have a discussion.
We'll either be on a mountain high or we'll be in a dinghy of my tears. So either way, it'll be fun. It'll be great content for you guys.
Well,
I would suggest you start blowing up that dinghy.
we have been on that same mountain within the same 30-minute show before. Like,
true.
Like,
yeah.
Justin, when
exactly what I was thinking.
When I was shown for his game, and me when Pixel Remaster was announced.
Yes,
I was there. I was watching with the Monkey Ball announcement. It was fantastic.
That face just changed from
We're
excitement.
gonna have to dust that. And we have that as a GIF, don't we?
Uh-oh.
Well, I think we clipped it.
Was clipped.
It's out there as a YouTube video.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah.
We'll have to send that
I think
again.
both of our discomforts were out there.
That was
for the
I
world to
clipped
see.
those and then also clipped the Metroid Dread thing. So fun times. Well, with that's our show. Episode 376. Justin, would you care to close us out?
Yeah, I absolutely can. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We greatly appreciate you for being here. A couple things that we first want to say. Hold on a second. There we go. Big thanks to our YouTube subscribers. Over 6,100 of you. Head over to YouTube, subscribe if you could. Twitch, we appreciate you. 34 people using their Twitch sub. Wow, that's amazing. Don't forget you can get 20% off at Manscaped and using the code NINDADS, NINDADS, for 20% off and free shipping. Hey, you like our stuff? Head over to the nintendodads.org/merch. And by the way, huge, massive thank you to our Patreon producers, Dave Ernsberg, Antonio Contreras, Solo Something, Alex Oncampo, and RJ Kern. Hey, you're looking for Nintendo Dads? Just type it into the intranet there, in the Googles, and you'll find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, fans only. No, that's not one yet, but I'm working on it. All right. Hey, big thank you to everyone that supports us every single day. If you've got a question you want to send into Nintendo Dads, just email us at nintendodads@gmail.org or call in and leave us a voicemail, 92925-NDADS or 92925-3237. That's actually where Marty Estes is right now. He is on our calls. He's on our phone, maintaining our call line right now. So he's waiting for you to call in. That's why he's on the show. That is his job today. He's been pushed over to reception. That is what he's doing. Call in 92925-NDADS and talk to Mr. Marty Estes. Big thanks to OC Remix for the music you hear throughout the show. By the way, hey, if you're listening to us on a podcast catcher, please head over there, give us a 5-star review. If you're thinking 3 stars, don't do that. That's not cool. I don't like that. You can give that to someone like the Mega Dads, all right? That is not the stuff we do here. This is 5-star content. You know it is. I know it is. Do yourself a favor, pull your car over right now and do it. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, Jesse, Tim, and Nick from Game Pass News, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
We sound like the goddamn Nintendo Dad.